Mu Xuanyi's fury is a cold and dangerous thing, and Yun Qi has drawn it upon himself. The search for the universe pentajade pellet begins, but trust in the snow song realm is as fragile as ice. Leave a like and subscribe to walk this path. Xuanyin spoke in a light and slow voice, but it was devoid of any emotions. It was evident that she was furious at the moment. Unlike the case at Heavenly Netherfrost Lake, she was truly angry at Yun Qi for the first time. His inability to tell good from bad had really enraged her. Disciple apologizes, "I've failed master." Yun Qi felt tense in his heart as he lowered his head, unable to meet Mu Xuanyi's eyes. He knew that she only intended to fulfill his cherished desire. Moreover, the vital yin of 3,000 Ice Phoenix female disciples would be an enormous loss to the whole sect, but she still didn't hesitate to make the choice for his own good. In addition, she schemed against Hu Ruli to obtain the Golden Crow's record of the burning world from him for no one else other than him. Although it was only his first day as her disciple, she had shown extremely great care to him. He said it himself just a while ago that so long as he can reach divine tribulation realm before the profound God convention, he would willingly participate in it and use all means to do so, no matter how faint the hope was. But now, in the blink of an eye, he was straight up refusing her. Therefore, he truly meant it when he said, "I've failed master." As his head drooped down, his gaze fell upon Mu Feixu, who was still prostrate on the ground. Immediately, he fell into a trance. A devastatingly beautiful and aloof figure like an ice fairy surfaced before his eyes. Little fairy, the first time he saw Mu Feixu, he couldn't refrain from thinking about Chu Yuechen because their temperament and eyes bore quite a lot of resemblance, so much so that even their looks shared some similarities. He knew well that Mu Feixu wasn't Chu Yuechen, and his little fairy was the one and only in the world. However, despite that, looking at the similarities between them, he still had no way of holding himself back from recalling the fairy-like figure he would certainly feel apologetic to for the rest of his life. Furthermore, the figure of Chu Yuechen overlapped and merged with Mu Feixu in his line of sight, making it even more difficult for him to stop thinking about her. "She isn't her, not the one I know." Yun Qi shook his head silently. "You're sorry." Mu Xuanyi's brows tightened. "You believe that you have the right to refuse my decision." Snap. Mu Xuanyin stretched out her palm. An extraordinarily rough sound of ice condensing issued from behind Yun Qi. He subconsciously turned around only to see several layers of thick and heavy ice piling up in a crisscross fashion. In an instant, they built up an ice room less than 10 meters square in area. Mu Xuanyin flipped over her palm the moment Yun Qi turned around. Soon after, a bizarre bead of blood emitting red light floated up to the tip of her finger before abruptly shooting forth to his chest. Taken by surprise, Yun Qi could only groan in fright as the red bead drilled into his body in no time with the aid of Mu Xuanyi's profound energy and fused into his blood. He had the fire spirit evil body, so he wasn't afraid of any sort of fire. Even the scorching hot temperature of the flaming body of a golden crow wouldn't make him feel uncomfortable in the least. But as soon as the blood bead entered his body, he felt as though flames had erupted around his chest region, which then quickly coursed through his body to reach every part within. Yun Qi turned pale with fear at the unprecedented reaction shown by his body. "Master, what is this thing?" "It's the blood of the ancient horned dragon from the god-burying inferno prison," Mu Xuanyin replied coldly. Yun Qi's pupils shrank in shock. Mu Bingyun had spoken to him before about the ancient horned dragon in the god-burying inferno prison. Its breath was extremely poisonous, and its blood immensely depraving. Its breath was so fatally toxic that even Mu Bingyun nearly lost her life. And its blood? The blood of the ancient horned dragon has the attribute of extreme yang, and as such, it's an utmost depravity-inducing substance. Even though I didn't use more than a drop of it, one at the divine spirit realm wouldn't be able to put up any resistance against its effects, much less you who has just entered divine way. I want to see for myself whether your body is as stubborn as your mouth." Mu Xuanyin's words carried along an oddly scalding aura which forced Mu Feixu to turn away her bright eyes. In the short time of a few breaths, Yun Qi's face and his exposed skin had completely turned crimson. As if he had been set afire, his breathing became heavy like a bull. His forehead was dripping with so much perspiration, it was as if torrential rain was pouring down. "SSS? Ah!" His whole blood seemed to have tuned into lava, crazily igniting his lust as it boiled intensely. His body had sky-poisoned pearl, making him fearless against all poisons under the heavens. However, The thing that has invaded his body wasn't some poison, but dragon blood of extreme yang. He fully understood what Mu Xuanyin was trying to do at this moment. A horned dragon's blood possessed intense yang energy of a terrifying level. He had seen too many estrus-inducing things back then when he used to follow around Yungu, but their potency couldn't come anywhere close to 1/10,000th of the single drop of dragon blood. However, he was already unable to escape from this place even if he wanted. Mu Xuanyin's palm drew closer and struck lightly on his chest. Bang! Yun Qi's body flew backward with an explosion as it fell into a cramped ice room with incomparable precision. Very soon, Mu Feixu was also blown into the room by a cold wind. Even her profound strength was completely sealed, leaving her unable to use the slightest bit of it. Clack! A blue light flashed through the air, instantly condensing a layer of ice which firmly blocked the only exit of the room. The chilly ice forming the room and the blockade were personally created by Mu Xuanyin. Consequently, it was simply impossible for Yun Qi and Mu Feixu to break out of it. The layers of ice the room was made of weren't transparent at all. Not only did they serve to obstruct others from looking inside, they also had the ability to prevent all sounds from reaching in or coming out. Immediately, the entire sacred hall quieted. Mu Xuanyin's beautiful brows slightly tightened into a frown. Her cold and absolutely gorgeous face was covered in a thin layer of pallid light, apparently still angry due to Yun Qi's sudden refusal. In Divine Ice Phoenix sect, direct inheritors of the Ice Phoenix bloodline who possessed Ice Phoenix vital yin were extremely few. Moreover, all of them had quite a high status and talent in the Snow Song realm. She was willing to pay an enormous price for Yun Qi. It was certainly the best method she could come up with to make his cultivation reach Divine Tribulation realm before the profound God convention. Besides, her plan was basically an absolutely great temptation to any man in the world, to say nothing of Yun Qi, who was deemed uninhibited by Mu Bingyun. But despite everything, he was audacious enough to refuse right to her face. Other than being surprised by his action, how would she not be enraged? And since it was a decision made by her, Yun Qi only had the choice to do it willingly or not. He had no qualification to voice his refusal. Mu Xuanyin slowly brought her arm down before turning around as her snow-white robe fluttered in the wind. Her tightened brows gradually relaxed and curved down a bit right after the moment she faced the other side. The exceedingly chilly aura emanating from her disappeared without a trace, like melting ice. Her lips that contained endless might of ice could be seen moving a little bit. Although her lips only curved into an almost indiscernible smile, it seemed as though countless flowers had bloomed all of a sudden, indescribably and inexhaustibly enchanting. The brat is such a handful. Doesn't even listen to a thing I say. She lightly muttered to herself, but her voice didn't have the bone-piercing chilliness from before and had instead become quite soft. Her previously cold eyes were shining like a lakelet reflecting the rays of sun, holding the same languid charm when a beautiful woman would awaken from an erotic dream. Feixu is Huange's only granddaughter. Chair, you need to treat her tenderly and take care not to break her. She let out a lovely laugh, appearing like a witch who had succeeded in her prank. Her snow-white robe fluttered in the air as she disappeared within the chilly fog, seemingly dissipating into thin air. But she didn't really leave the sacred hall and was actually floating high into the sky. She closed her eyes as she focused her mind. She was far more clear about the intensity of the horned dragon blood's yang attribute. It wasn't the least bit of exaggeration to say that just a drop of its blood was so potent that even profound practitioners of divine spirit realm would be unable to keep themselves in check under its effect. With Yun Qi's current profound strength, he wouldn't be able to hold back for any more than 10 breaths, no matter how strong his willpower was. Afterward, he would totally lose his reason and his body would be governed by his lust. And as for Mu Feixu, who was in the same room as him, she had personally sealed her profound power and hence, there was no means left to her for resisting the assault of the lust-driven Yun Qi. Under the influence of extreme yang dragon blood, a man would go crazy even for a sow, to say nothing of the exceptionally beautiful Mu Feixu, whose looks were unmatched in the entire sect. With the help of Mu Feixu's extremely strong and pure Ice Phoenix vital yin, he would recover very quickly as well. Therefore, she planned on waiting for an hour before opening up the room. After all, she was really worried about Yun Qi losing control and ending up playing with the powerless Mu Feixu to the point of being thoroughly broken. Time continued to pass by amidst the silent chilliness. After half an hour passed, Mu Xuanyin slowly opened her eyes as she looked at the ice room. She speculated that Xianxia must have obtained Mu Feixu's vital yin by now. But even she, Snow Song Realm's Realm King, would have never expected what had actually happened in the ice room. Ah! Xianxia was shouting as if he had gone insane. His voice had already become extremely hoarse, giving off the impression that he was suffering from the greatest pain in the world. His snow-white robe was in an utterly miserable state. Every torn piece of it was dyed with scarlet bloodstains. His hair were also in a complete mess, as he continuously clawed at his body with his own hands. And his head was ruthlessly hitting against the icy walls again and again, producing violent, deafening sounds of collision. The blood coursing through his body was incomparably burning hot, and his body was boiling with such momentum as though it would blow up at any moment. The desire to madly ravage Mu Feixu filled up each and every cell of his body, nibbling away at his last bit of reason and soberness. Mu Feixu quietly stood at the corner of the room without making any sort of sound, like a finely sculpted ice crystal statue of a young lady. Only her starry eyes could be seen faintly swaying, as unprecedented ripples surfaced in them. She had heard before about the fearfulness of a horned dragon blood. She had thought about accepting her fate the moment she entered the sacred hall. She had no thoughts of defying it, nor was it possible, as it was an order from the sect master. She knew very well that given her appearance, the men in the sect would always look at her with gazes of shock, infatuation, and stultification. They would even feel themselves inferior to her, not daring to show the expressions of desire in their eyes. In any case, even if she was ugly, she still had Ice Phoenix vital yin, which was an immensely great temptation in itself to all men. And right now, the only person who could do anything with her was, unexpectedly, roaring to vent his feelings, clawing at himself and knocking his head against the wall with all his might. Despite the fact that half an hour had passed, he hadn't shown any signs of assaulting her helpless self, even though he was being tormented by the blood of the horned dragon. He had started to lose his voice gradually after howling for such a long period of time, as if his throat had ripped open at several places. Large pools of blood and sweat could be seen at his feet. He had drawn back his body, that appeared to be in utmost pain, to a corner of the room with his back facing her, seemingly doing his best to forget about her existence. He stubbornly managed to restrain himself so far despite the effect of the blood, something even people in the divine spirit realm would find impossible to do. There was just no way to imagine how strong a willpower it required to accomplish such a feat, and the fearful extent of pain one had to suffer. Mu Feixu stared blankly at him, as such a situation was totally different from what she had expected. She also couldn't understand why he was doing that. It was an order from the sect master. She herself was clearly an irresistible, devastatingly beautiful woman, and there was evidently endless benefit to him if he did as said. But why would he still not be willing to touch her even if that meant bearing so much pain? Why are you trying to restrain yourself? Her snow-like lips opened lightly as she spoke in a dreamy voice. It might be the first time in her life that she had taken the initiative to talk with a man, excluding those from the older generation. Moreover, the words she said were ambiguous enough to be taken as an invitation to defile her. Perhaps even Xianxia didn't know about the thing he was enduring at the moment. It might be due to the shadow of Chu Yuechen left in his mind, or the unwillingness to surrender himself before the might of the horned dragon blood. However, the icy and soft feminine voice of Mu Feixu ruined all his efforts to forget her existence in the end. The final defensive line in his mind that was holding him back was rooted in the twinkling of an eye. Xianxia stopped roaring, and his body turned around all of a sudden. With bloodshot eyes, he stared towards Mu Feixu, who was standing in a daze. Bang! His heart throbbing crazily and his blood surging fiercely, Xianxia's will was being dominated by the desire to ravage Mu Feixu to his satisfaction. He pounded over to her like a hungry tiger pouncing on its prey. But as he had currently lost quite a bit of his strength, he lost his balance and fell upon her legs instead, causing her to fall down due to the weight of his body. RIIIP? Mu Feixu's lower garment was instantly ripped apart by Xianxia, who was currently out of his mind. A jade-white, slender, and long leg revealed itself before him, which he greedily caressed as he pressed his face against the beautiful bare part of her leg. The soft and smooth sensation of her leg possessed a chilly aura and comforting, delicate fragrance, making the fire of lust, that was threatening to split his body into pieces, burn with even more force and intensity. In contrast to the burning hot aura emanating from Xianxia, Mu Feixu's body was giving off a pure, cold aura. After being eventually pounced upon by the former, she didn't show any resistance despite the fact that she was going to be defiled by him. A series of tearing sounds could be heard once again. Mu Feixu's snow-white garments had turned into bits and pieces in no time. Her flawless, jade-like body was immediately exposed to the air, revealing the smooth, dazzling, snow-white skin in front of Xianxia's bloodshot eyes. She quietly remained beneath him with her body fully exposed, without struggling to stop the other party or showing any signs of sensuality. She seemed like a snow woman, born from an ice lotus of the heavenly lake, whose beauty would remain pure and holy even if she were to be sullied by a wild beast that had lost its reason. The crimson color of Xianxia's pupils deepened several fold. He let out an uncontrollable low roar as he pounced forward to firmly grab and knead her jade-white, flawless chest, causing Mu Feixu to tighten her beautiful brows in pain. Then Xianxia impatiently lowered his head to bite directly on her lips. There was barely any distance between the eyes of the two people. Xianxia's pupils were blazing like flames, apparently in a state of irritable unrest. Mu Feixu didn't close her eyes and simply looked on with a glazed expression in them. Resembling a pond of still water, ice gold, holy and pure, eliciting deep sorrow and melancholy within others. She resembled the helpless Chu Yuechen in the past when her body was pressed down by him at Dragon God trial grounds. In an instant, Xianxia let out a queer cry as though countless lightning bolts had ruthlessly bombarded into eyes and soul. His body flipped away from its position on Mu Feixu all of a sudden. He grabbed his head and rolled about on the ground, howling and crying endlessly. Blue veins popped out on his forehead, bearing a similarity to desperately struggling earthworms. His reddened eyes had miraculously gained some clarity, despite him totally going out of control just a while ago. After yelling for a long time, he lifted his trembling right arm and stretched wide the 5 fingers before fiercely smashing down on his chest. PFTT? The fingers were imbued with all of his power as they firmly pierced into his chest and dug out 5 deep bloody holes. Blood immediately gushed out of the holes, bringing about a sharp pain that helped him sober up even more than before. He exerted his whole strength to get as far away from my Feixu as possible while rolling and crawling on the ground. Mu Feixu quietly got up to her feet as she absent-mindedly looked at Xianxia doing his all to get as far from her as he could. He left incomparably scarlet bloodstains on the ground in his wake as he crawled his way to the other corner of the room. "Knock me out!" Suddenly, he spoke with his body curled up in the corner. He said no more than 3 words, but his voice was so hoarse that it didn't bear any similarities to that of a human's. It sounded more like it was coming from a wild beast in a moment of despair. Mu Feixu didn't move a muscle, even forgetting to cover up her naked, jade-like body. There was a blood-red mark on her cherry lips, left behind by none other than Xianxia. Since her profound strength had been completed sealed by Mu Xuanyin, it was impossible for her to knock him out even if she wanted to do so. "Hurry up! Ah!" Xianxia roared in maddening pain. His faintly sobered-up mind was telling him that his sanity might get swallowed up again by the instincts of lust at any moment. I can't! Xianxia's eyes abruptly widened to their limits as the image of a dark blue true dragon at once surfaced on his body. Roar, with the dragon soul released, his mind became extremely clear. At least he could channel sufficient power now. Ahhhhhhhh! Xianxia straightaway gathered all his power in the right arm before launching a punch to his temple. Boom. There was so much weight behind his punch that it jolted the entire ice room. Outside, the meditating Mu Xuanyin suddenly opened up her eyes. This is the aura of a true dragon. Her gaze immediately turned to the ice room below. Unexpectedly, the aura of a true dragon was originating from within it. Mu Yuengxin's body flashed and instantly arrived before the ice room. With a stroke of her palm, the ice wall right in front melted away in no time. She was momentarily stupefied by the scene before her eyes. Xianxia was sitting paralyzed with his body curled up in a corner of the room. His whole body was dyed in blood, and 5 bloody holes could be seen on his chest. Although blood had stopped flowing out of them, it was still a ghastly sight to behold. His eyes were open, but they had lost nearly all their luster, and his mental condition had fallen to a semi-conscious state by now. As Mu Feixu's profound strength had been sealed, he could be the only one to turn his body into such a mess. Mu Feixu was standing in another corner with all her garments torn to pieces. Her bare jade-like body looked so splendid that even Mu Yuangxin felt admiration for it in her heart. It was just that, although there were some ravaging marks left on her, the breath of her vital yin was still pure as before. There were large bloodstains on the ground between the two people. Mu Yuangxin remained silent for a long while, standing in place, before walking over to Xianxi's side. Her snow-white hand lightly pressed on his chest, sending some frost energy in his body to quickly dispel the blood of horned dragon that was wreaking havoc within even at this moment. Mu Feixu had been looking fixedly at Xianxi all this time. Her eyes had lost their previous cold and calm expression as they got replaced by utter confusion. It was her first time forgetting to kowtow upon seeing Mu Yuangxin. Under the effect of Mu Yuangxin's cold energy, Xianxi's breathing recovered to normal. His body stopped convulsing and the look of pain on his face disappeared gradually. "Chair, why are you unwilling to touch Feixu despite the fact that it would only cause you so much suffering?" Mu Yuangxin asked in a low voice. She injected him with the blood of horned dragon and confined him in the ice room with Mu Feixu due to his disobedience and inability to appreciate her kindness. However, seeing that he didn't want to do anything to Mu Feixu even after being tormented by the blood of the horned dragon for an entire half hour, and even hurt his entire body in the process, she couldn't bring herself to be angry at him, though she should be further enraged at his actions. Xianxi opened his lips to speak. He was almost in a stupor at the moment but still managed to maintain an extremely vague consciousness. "If it's someone else, disciple will obey master's words, but disciple is unable to do it with her." Mu Feixu. "For what reason?" Mu Yuangxin asked. "Because she resembles little fairy." Xianxi's voice came to a halt as he spoke out the two words, "little fairy." Suddenly a pained expression appeared on his face, showing no signs of disappearing anytime soon. "Little fairy. Who's she?" The light in Mu Xuanyi's eyes flickered slightly. She didn't hear this name when Mu Bingyun talked about Xianxi with her. "She is no longer in this world." His consciousness became further indistinct, but his voice turned even more pained. It was natural, as talking about little fairy was basically coming into contact with the deepest and most painful, shame-inducing, regretful, and untouchable place of his soul. Mu Feixu. Mu Yuangxin fell silent for a brief moment. She slowly moved her hands away from his chest after driving out all of the horned dragon blood. "Disciple requests master to rescind the order." Xianxi's face turned pale as he closed his eyes and continued, "Or else Jasmine would loathe me when she finds out." His eyelids shut down completely as he truly passed out. The words he spoke came from the depths of his soul, but he wouldn't remember saying anything of it after awakening, due to his consciousness being disassociated from it. Mu Yuangxin stood up before quietly turning around to face Mu Feixu. "Feixu, tell your grandfather that the previous decision has been cancelled." Her voice was devoid of any anger or majesty. Even she was surprised by how easily she decided to rescind the order, especially considering that it was an order the sect master had decided on in the presence of everyone during the Great Sect Assembly. After the prohibition was lifted from her body, Mu Feixu lightly waved her hand before her chest. Her naked jade-like body was now covered in new snow-white garments. She bowed slightly without making any sound in response and turned around to leave. "Wait a moment," Mu Yuangxin said all of a sudden. She paused for a bit before continuing. "Have Huanji come here. This king wants to discuss some matter with him." Bathing in the snow falling from the sky, Mu Feixu lonesomely walked out of the sacred hall. Afterwards, she stopped in her tracks to look silently at the pale white world around her. But she wasn't unable to stay as quiet as the snow region within her heart. "Just, what sort of person is he?" she lightly murmured to herself. "That little fairy is no longer in this world, but he still disobeyed the order of sect master, willingly suffered such a great torment, and even didn't hesitate from self-mutilation because of her. Do I truly resemble that much?" Earlier, her world was only filled with pure snow, without the presence of any blemish or dust. But at some point in time, the figure of the man who chose to suffer devastating pain over touching her, even after receiving the order directly from the sect master, had etched deeply into her heart and soul, perhaps. It was impossible now for her to ever erase it, no matter how hard she tried. Mu Huanji rushed over to Sacred Hall burning with impatience. When he reached the entrance, he saw Mu Yuangxin standing with her hands at her back with a cold and clear look in her eyes. Apparently, she was waiting for his arrival. He promptly stepped forward and performed a salutation from a distance. "Huanji pays respect to sect master. Xuanyin feels extremely apologetic to make sect master wait so long. Get up. Mu Yungxin's voice traveled through the snowy wind, carrying a hint of tiredness. Xuanyin, this king called you here to entrust a task. Mu Xuanyin got up and nodded. Sect master, please give your instructions. Feixu. Mu Feixu's cold eyes looked somewhat complicated. We'll have to temporarily drop the matter that was decided for her and Yun Qi. However, you're not allowed to privately marry her off to anyone else without this king's permission. The latter part of her words were clearly said in a stern tone, making Mu Xuanjin's heart skip a beat. He didn't get time to think through it as he nodded at once in agreement. I understand. This king wants you to look for 4 things. Mu Xuanjin focused his mind and pricked up his ears. The things for which sect master herself was going to instruct him to seek were bound to be extraordinary after all. The 4 things are a Qilin horn, a wood spirit orb with at least 70% of its spiritual power preserved, a divine 9-star Buddha jade, and an intact immortal emperor grass. Initially, Mu Xuanjin was listening intently to her words, but when he heard wood spirit orb, he couldn't help but raise his head in startlement. Soon after, he heard his throat made a deep sound involuntarily as his ears caught the names of divine 9-star Buddha jade and immortal emperor grass. Putting the Qilin horn aside, a wood spirit orb was the life source of the people from wood spirit race. Once it was taken out of them, their bodies would die and their soul dissipate into thin air. Their number was on continuous decline due to the large-scale hunt for them. That naturally led to a ceaseless increase in the selling price of the wood spirit orb. In addition, killing people of their race was widely recognized as unethical and inhumane. Therefore, wood spirit orbs had always been sold in private, with no one daring to do it publicly. As a result, it had become extremely difficult to obtain the orbs nowadays, much less one with 70% of its spirit power preserved. It was also an option for him to go hunt a member of wood spirit race, but doing so would be equal to defying the heavenly law, and righteous profound practitioners would not do it openly. Now the possibility of getting his hands on a wood spirit orb was still viable, but the divine 9-star Buddha jade and the immortal emperor grass were the kind of things that could be only seen in the ancient records. It was uncertain whether even the rumor of their locations could be heard once in several thousand years. It was immensely hard to obtain them even in the upper star realms. Is there a problem? Mu Xuanyin slightly frowned upon seeing Mu Xuanjin's reaction to her words. Mu Xuanjin promptly said, Xuanjin has remembered it all and will at once set out to do as instructed. Just that, the members of wood spirit race generally remain hidden in lower star realms where the situation is comparatively less threatening to their lives. Moreover, whether it's a wood spirit or a wood spirit orb, the business involving them has always been carried out in private. All we can do now is to send some people to the lower star realms and covertly look for the thing we want. However, being able to actually get our hands on an orb with at least 70% of its power preserved will heavily rely on our luck. As for divine 9-star Buddha jade and immortal emperor grass, Mu Xuanjin exhaled lightly. Xuanjin will try to the best of his ability. He didn't dare ask Mu Xuanyin why she would need to look for such things all of a sudden. Get it done as soon as possible, Mu Xuanyin said. In case you get the information about their whereabouts but find it beyond your ability to obtain them, do let this king immediately know about it. Yes, Mu Xuanjin's heart thumped loudly. Her words clearly indicated that she was in a hurry to get these things. But the names she had mentioned were absolutely extraordinary things, so getting hold of even one of them in a short time was especially difficult, to say nothing of all 4 of them. Sect Master, I've an idea about the place where we could find the Qilin horn. Oh, Mu Xuanyin narrowed her eyes. Speak. Yes. Mu Xuanjin recollected his thoughts for a bit before continuing respectfully. Around 2 years ago, I incidentally heard from Yunjai that the Ice-Wind Imperial family, which Mu Hanyi comes from, possesses an object that is considered to be their holidom. It has always been within their possession since the time Ice-Wind Empire was founded. Reportedly, it was coincidentally dug out of the bottomless Fearn and is extremely likely to be an intact Ice Qilin horn. Therefore, it was viewed as the holidom safeguarding the empire and has been passed down in the Ice-Wind Imperial family for the last 70 to 80,000 years. Since they consider it a holidom that's safeguarding the empire and have kept it a secret for such a long time, how is it that Mu Hanyi disclosed this matter to Mu Yunjai? Mu Xuanyin asked in a cold voice. Undoubtedly, Mu Yunjai wouldn't have known about it without Mu Hanyi telling it himself. About that, Mu Hanyi seemed a bit awkward. According to Yunjai, Mu Hanyi told her about the Ice Killing Horn because of a decision made by the monarch of Ice Wind Empire several years ago. If Mu Hanyi could become a direct disciple of the sect master, he was willing to offer the holidom, which they have kept in secret for tens of thousands of years, to the sect master as a token of gratitude. HMPH. Then he truly revealed the secret on purpose, Mu Xuanyin said in a cold tone. Mu Hanyi said, "It has been several 100,000 years since the Killins in the Eastern Divine region became extinct. It would require us to go to Western Divine region to look for a Killin horn, which is going to be extremely troublesome. If the Ice Wind Empire really has a Killin horn, to get it from them would be the best choice. In half a month, Mu Hanyi will be returning to the Empire in order to participate in his father's birthday, which is planned to be held in celebration of him turning 1,000 years old. We just need him to bring it along when he comes back to the sect. Or should Xuanyin personally set off right now to obtain it? If Mu Xuanyin were to order them, the Ice Wind Empire would obediently offer it up to her, even if they had 10,000 guts. No need. Mu Xuanyin rejected his proposal. Do not speak of the things this king has discussed with you today to anyone else. Search across the lower star realms for the wood spirit orb and secretly search through the upper star realms for any findings of the divine 9-star Buddha Jade and immortal Emperor Grass. Remember to assign the task only to those people that you deem reliable enough. As for Killin Horn, you don't need to bother about it. You have to be particularly careful not to reveal the work I entrusted to Yunjai and Mu Hanyi. You may now leave." "Yes." Mu Hanyi felt extremely doubtful in his heart, but he could only retire in a hurry. Amidst the snow and wind, Mu Xuanyin slowly turned round and looked far off to the north with her cold, starry eyes. Her lips faintly opened to utter the words, "Ice Wind Empire." Xianxia awakened after remaining unconscious for an unknown period of time. Having recovered his consciousness, he felt countless streaks of refreshing, cool, and bone-penetrating energy pouring into his body, which made him clear-headed in no time. Upon opening his eyes, he saw a puddle of still water. In the distance, he also saw a vast number of rare herbs of various magnificent colors. The aura infused in the air entering his nostrils was extremely cold and pure. It was the heavenly Netherfrost Lake. His entire body was soaked in the lake. The injuries on his body had disappeared without a trace, and his mind felt incomparably calm and clear. He quickly recalled the events that happened before him passing out. He released the dragon soul, which helped him to sober up for a brief moment, and used all his power to smash his head. Afterwards, "Oh, you woke up so soon?" A delicate and soft voice reminiscent of silk made the confused Xianxia feel his body at once go numb and his bones turn limp. He subconsciously turned around to look at Mu Xuanyin leisurely lying down at the shore of lake at some distance. Her exceedingly beautiful face, that could invoke great admiration in countless beings, seemed to be carried an almost indiscernible faint smile. She slowly sat up upon seeing Xianxia wake up. Beneath the snow-white robe, her long and slender legs that excelled even Mu Feixu's size and proportion, naturally bared themselves as she was sitting in a cross-legged posture. Xianxia's mind was intoxicated by the orchid fragrance that diffused into the air as the two legs rubbed against each other, making him sink into a trance-like state. "Chair, your body seems to be absorbing the cold energy of the heavenly lake water. Is it also due to the power of the evil god?" In the snow song realm, everyone knew about Mu Xuanyin's stern and heartless nature, and hence, no one dared to offend her. Even someone as arrogant and proud as Xianxia absolutely didn't dare act rashly in front of her. But at this time, the Mu Xuanyin before him contained a slightly concerned look in her eyes. Her beautiful face was brimming with enchantment, and her moving lips gave off an impression similar to a bud disgorging stamens. Every word that escaped her mouth held softness and warmth. She appeared to be the same beautiful woman as when he had seen her for the first time and unwittingly called her big-breasted senior sister. Even Xianxia didn't know how long he spaced out for before coming to his senses. He promptly stood up in the lake. "Maz." Halfway through his words, he felt something odd about the refreshing and cool feeling on his body. He subconsciously lowered his head and discovered that he wasn't wearing anything at the moment. Taken aback by his current state, he immediately jolted back into the heavenly lake as though he had been electrocuted. His mind was in so much chaos that he even forgot to take out a set of clothes to wear from within the sky poison pearl. Mu Xuanyin let out a lovely laugh at his embarrassed look. She laughed so much that her beautiful body was shaking, causing her full chest, beneath the snow-white robe, to bounce continuously as those dazzling, snow-white mounds nearly spilled out of the overlap. At the moment, Mu Xuanyin was dressed in a loose and comfortable robe with the pattern of the ice phoenix on it. An extremely special ice silk seemed to have been used for the pattern, as it was particularly dazzling to the eye. Her ice blue hair looked natural and gorgeous as it spread on her aromatic shoulder and jade-like back. It was slightly wet, as though she had just taken a bath. Unexpectedly, her shoulders were only covered by sleeves that appeared as thin as a cicada's wings, causing the arms that were plump and glossy like a white root of lotus to be faintly discernible. Brat, your body was contaminated by the blood energy of horned dragon, but you still refused to touch even a beautiful woman like Feixu. That made me worry about whether you have some sort of illness, and so I carefully inspected your body to take care of the issue. However, it seems that you really don't have any concerning ailments. Inspected my body? At number percent, Xianxia once again fell into a daze after having come to his senses just a while ago. His mind uncontrollably thought of all sort of things that shouldn't have happened. In a flurry, he casually grabbed a set of clothes to wear before very carefully surfacing out of the lake. Disciple is grateful for master's concern about Feixu. His memory after knocking himself out was quite fuzzy. He had no idea whether he did something to Mu Feixu in the end. Besides, even if it was possible to recall the things that happened later, he was still basically unable to do so at present. His thoughts were a complete mess right now, and wicked flames seemed to be crazily burning all over his body. The more he tried to suppress them, the more forcefully and intensely they burned. The phenomenon was pretty similar to the time when the blood of horned dragon was fused into his body. Mu Xuanyin possessed an absolute beauty under the heavens, but she held an equally supreme and chilling might, which elicited an extreme fear in everyone. In the snow song realm, there wasn't a single person who would dare stop their gaze on her for more than a single breath. This fact was made quite evident when even the flame god realm's 3 sect masters didn't dare meet her eyes. But the Mu Xuanyin before Xianxia didn't give off any aura that would induce pressure or intimidation in others. Her umber-black eyebrows were like fog and her beautiful eyes were amorous. The cold and majestic look in her eyes had become soul-captivating. Although she was in a sitting posture, the curves of her body were so seductive that they could make a person's blood vessels burst open from the boiling temperature of the blood. Each part of her body and every inch of her skin were emanating a bewitching and magical enticement. Xianxia's gaze fell directly on her charming and alluring body. He couldn't turn it away, no matter how hard he tried. The evil fire had started spreading from his lower abdomen to every inch of his body. "Oh, so you still have the conscience to be concerned about Feixu, huh?" Mu Xuanyin spoke softly. "You can rest at ease, she hasn't lost her vital yin. It's just that you've seen everything there's to see and felt her all over, so she can't really be called a flawless white jade anymore. Shouldn't you be explaining yourself to the other party now?" Mu Xuanyin's tender and soft voice was soul-shaking and tantalizing, but Xianxia barely heard her words as he kept staring fixedly at Mu Xuanyin's chest. When she leaned forward in the sitting posture, the part of the robe around her chest slid down a bit, revealing the 2 overly ample and soft mounds. As they were pressed from both sides, a lustrous valley could be seen in between. The deep ditch that was enough to nibble away at one's restraint and sanity with just a glance at it was now fully exposed before his eyes. Gulp! A loud swallowing sound issued from Xianxia's throat. It was so loud that it could be heard from even 6 kilometers away. Immediately, his whole body quivered, scaring the evil fire to such an extent that a lot of it extinguished. This wasn't the only occasion when he gulped saliva in front of Mu Xuanyin, but back then it was his first time seeing Mu Xuanyin, and hence, he was unaware of her identity. He thought that she was a senior sister from Divine Hall. However, at present, he was quite clear that the person before his eyes was the ruler of Snow Song Realm, the sect master of Ice Phoenix, as well as his master. Xianxia's mind had been thrown into disorder. The snow-white figure sitting ahead flashed for a bit, after which a fragrant wind hit his face. Mu Xuanyin's face had come very close to his own, and her beautiful eyes seemed to be filled with fog. A jade-like hand lightly pinched on her neckline. His mouth was wide agape, unable to speak a word. "I can overlook the frivolous words you said before in the Ice Phoenix Palace, as you hadn't acknowledged me as your master at the time." Mu Xuanyin spoke in a faint voice and in a soft and intimate tone. But even now, after becoming a disciple, you still dare to harbor deviant thoughts towards your master. You sure are gutsy? Her face got even closer to him, bringing her lips that appeared like delicate flowers to almost make contact with his cheek. Her lips opened a little, emitting an enthralling fragrance. You were unwilling to do it with Feixu. Could it be that? You want Master to be your dual cultivation partner. Yuanqi's tongue and mouth turned dry when he heard the dreamlike lovely and frivolous words. The evil fire in his body spread around disorderly, forcing his turmoiled blood vessels close to the point of rupture. Mu Xuanyin was so close to him that he could easily look into her loose robe just by lowering his gaze by a bit. The soft light of the moon was illuminating her shoulders, outlining the lustrous half-arcs below her collarbone. Looking even further downward, he saw the two dazzling white and erect mounds shaking and jiggling with even the slightest movement of her body due to being too full and soft. That sounds plausible. As though she didn't notice Yuanqi's gaze, Mu Xuanyin lightly flicked her finger that was placed on his neckline. Her ways of seduction kept switching from one to another as she said in a dreamy and soft voice, "If you were to do it with me, you wouldn't need to wait for 2 years. Only an evening would be enough to directly step into the divine soul realm, huh?" An evening to step straight into the divine soul realm. Such words would have certainly made Yuanqi jump in shock and excitement if he were in a normal condition. But his heart, soul, and body were all in a state of disarray due to the evil fire. Although he was listening to her, the thing he was thinking of wanting to do wasn't breaking through to the divine soul realm, but totally something else. The things he was picturing in his mind was the imagery of Mu Xuanyin's legs wrapped around his waist, as she turned hers, or the imagery of her gently moaning with her jade-like body underneath him. Every bit of her skin and face were exceedingly beautiful. Her every frown and every smile was abound with amorousness. She was a true beauty of the world, so beautiful it was almost terrifying. Qi's imagination was running wild. An intense pain suddenly came from his left ear. Mu Xuanyin's jade hand, which was tapping on his collar, flipped, and it was now pulling onto his ear, directly raising him out of the heavenly lake. Mu Xuanyin's move was extremely heavy, painful to the point where Yuanqi had instantly gnashed his teeth. His mind was shaken awake from the pain in an instant, as he shouted in a fluster, Disciple doesn't dare, SZZ. This disciple only has respect for Master. He would definitely never have such thoughts." Mu Xuanyin, however, did not have any intentions to release him at all, to be capable of making Yuanqi's face distort in pain. Even though he possessed the physique of a dragon, it could be imagined just how punishingly powerful the snowy hand that was pulling Yuanqi's ear was. She smiled cheekily and said, "That's good, I don't mind forgiving." While Mu Xuanyin was speaking, her eyes inadvertently shifted towards Yuanqi's lower body. Her voice instantly halted. Her beautiful eyes were wide open before narrowing once more. Within her long and narrow eye slits, a dangerous, bewitching glint flashed. "My good chair, I have truly underestimated your audacity." Her voice instantly turned even softer and even slower, yet Yuanqi's heart was rapidly pumping from hearing her words. "You actually dare present this grustique thing before your master's eyes? So audacious." Mu Xuanyin flung out her arm, which was pulling Yuanqi's ear, and Yuanqi was thrown far off as he screamed, heavily smashing onto the bank of the lake. This throw contained only a bit of Mu Xuanyin's strength, and Yuanqi rolled quite a distance at the lakeside before finally coming to a halt. However, his face was pale from the pain, his throat coarse, and he was unable to stand up even after a long while. At least a dozen bones were broken. His imagination had even more so been scattered completely. "Ha! This is truly misfortune for my sect," Mu Xuanyin softly sighed, completely disregarding the fact that the responsibility laid within every single inch of her own jade body that was emitting out a bewitching aura that no man could ever resist. "You were unwilling to touch Feixu, even under the influence of the horned dragon's blood, and I had initially wanted to praise your extraordinary self-control. I never expected that you were actually a disgusting disciple who possessed such an insolently lustful heart to even dare think of your master in such a manner." Yuanqi was finally able to take up a stable sitting posture. With a lowered head, he did not dare to talk back, nor did he dare to give Mu Xuanyin another glance. "Never mind, it seems I will have to nurture you further in the future." Mu Xuanyin seemed to have let out a soft, dispirited sigh. Raising her hand, a jade scroll that was sparkling with blue lights landed next to Yuanqi. She then turned her back to him. "This jade scroll is engraved with the complete moon-splitting cascade. With your comprehension ability, you should already be capable of comprehending it on your own. My instructions shouldn't be needed. I shall temporarily shut you inside this heavenly netherfrost lake. In a few days, I will return to test your progress on the moon-splitting cascade. If it's passable, I shall not pursue your sin of great disrespect. There might even be a reward. If you, however, disappoint me, the light in Mu Xuanyi's eyes slightly stirred as she revealed a faint smile. The consequences will be dire. When these words fell, Mu Xuanyin left. The barrier of heavenly netherfrost lake was tightly shut as well. Crock, crock! A few crackles resounded, as several bones that were misaligned were quickly put back by Xianxia. As for the few dozen bones that were shattered, he had no choice but to wait for them to slowly recover on their own. Only then did he stand up, gnash his teeth and say, "Not having any reaction would be even more abnormal, all right." He had very few embarrassing moments in front of Jasmine, but in front of Mu Xuanyin, it seemed like there had not been a single time where he was not embarrassed. If he hadn't experienced their first encounter at Ice Phoenix Palace, Mu Xuanyin's immense change would have definitely shocked Xianxia even now. Even if that was the case, from recalling the Mu Xuanyin of a few moments ago, he was still a little absent-minded. He was unable to connect her with the Snow Song Realm King who possessed heavenly might that could silence the masses. Why was there such a huge disparity in her personality? Which one was the true her? Xianxia moved into the heavenly lake and calmed himself for about 2 hours within before finally being able to relieve his injuries and inner turmoil. He then left the waters of the heavenly lake, landed at the lakeside, and sat in the lotus position. However, he did not pick up the moon-splitting cascade jade scroll which Mu Xuanyin had thrown at him. Instead, he took out the jade scroll which was glowing with a crimson-golden light. At the appearance of this crimson-golden jade scroll, the temperature in the air rose, startling the surrounding ice spirits to scatter off. The complete Golden Crow's record of the burning world. Though the Nine Suns' Heaven's Fury released by Xiaolan was unable to harm him, it had shaken his heart and soul tremendously. However, he did not forget that this jade scroll could only be read once, and that it would immediately disappear after. Xianxia calmed his heart and focused his mind. With his eyes closed like thin and fine streams, his senses enveloped the crimson-golden jade scroll. His senses quickly plundered through, immediately landing on the 8th stage of the god arts. In the span of a few dozen breaths, the resounding cry of the golden crow rang in his mind, and a blazing golden crow danced in the depths of his soul. On the surface of his body, a layer of increasingly rich golden crow divine flames slowly appeared. As one progressed through each realm of the Golden Crow's record of the burning world, the might of the Golden Crow flames would rise once. Furthermore, every single one would be an explosive increase of a large degree, and the color of the flames would tend closer to gold. Not to mention, with every increasing realm, there would similarly be a corresponding Golden Crow annihilative skill. 8th realm, Blazing Sunray, was a point-based fire attack skill which far surpassed Golden Annihilation in power. The concept behind Golden Annihilation was the suppression of Golden Crow flames into a single line, while Blazing Sunray was even more extreme, a single point. Though it required several times more condensing time than Golden Annihilation, the moment it was successfully released, it would be akin to extreme flames coming from the blazing sun itself. It was capable of burning through all matter in the world. 9th realm, Illusory Realm Domain Red Butterfly was not an annihilative domain like Yellow Spring Ashes. Rather, it was a soul domain like the Dragon God Domain. However, it was different compared to the Dragon God Domain's unbeatable stun. Though the Red Butterfly Domain could not achieve the extreme stun which the Dragon God Domain was capable of, it could bring about the terrifying incineration of one's spirit. It would be akin to the terrifying Golden Crow divine flames burning the depths of people's souls, destroying their souls while their bodies were left alive. 10th realm, and also the highest realm recorded in the Jade Scroll of the Golden Crow's record of the burning world. Its corresponding annihilative skill was the Nine Suns' Heaven's Fury. The Nine Suns' Heaven's Fury demonstrated by Xiaolan was in the most elementary, one-sun state. Even though it was in the most elementary state, its terror had still shaken the entire Divine Ice Phoenix sect. Furthermore, with every addition of a sun, its power would not just increase by one but several times. The complete Nine Suns' Heaven's Fury would bring about the descent of 9 suns. The terror of its might was simply unimaginable. Most likely, that would truly be divine might that could annihilate the world. In the 100,000 years of the Flame God Realm's history, though there had been 4 people who could comprehend the 9 suns' heaven's fury, not a single one of them was able to achieve the realm of 9 suns. Hu Poyan, being capable of reaching the realm of 1 sun before the age of 30, was already a never-before-seen miracle in the Flame God Realm. In his focused state, he was basically unable to sense the flow of time. When the unmoving Yunqi opened his eyes once more, 7 days had already passed. The flames on his body were still present, while the crimson golden jade scroll before him burst into flames at this moment, instantly turning to ash. Raising his right hand, a small ball of golden crow flames ignited soundlessly above his palm, and then it quickly turned dense. On his first cast, he had already reached the 8th flaming realm, and it was in but a few seconds. The aura and color of the flames had both undergone a clear change. He also had the confidence that in half a month, he would be able to achieve the lower tier of blazing sunray. However, with the flames in hand, his brows slightly furrowed. Is the 10th stage truly the peak? Why do I have the feeling that it's still incomplete? Never mind, let's train the moon-splitting cascade. Ice Phoenix City, 36th Ice Phoenix Palace. Yunqi was the one who rejected Feixu. Mu Xuanyin sat sideways on the ice chair. With hazy eyes and her soft breasts half exposed, her overlapping legs formed a slender, sultry outline. A small part of her white calves was exposed beneath her dress. Her glossy skin was even more lustrous than a room filled with flowers of ice. Mu Bingyun was standing next to her. Her slightly furrowed brows revealed her perplexity. What else could it be? Feixu has such an obedient personality. No matter what, she couldn't be the one who was disobedient. Mu Xuanyin's voice was soft and gentle, capable of tugging people's hearts and minds. A layer of bewitching pink lightly surfaced on her jade-white face. An entrancing scent was floating in the air, and Mu Bingyun's eyes inadvertently landed on her overly large and half-exposed breasts, and then shifted away immediately after. Her heart instantly began to beat a little unnaturally. She lightly said, "That shouldn't be the case. Though elder sister's method is a little brazen, it's indeed the most likely way for him to achieve the divine tribulation realm before the profound God convention. Furthermore, with his personality and the instincts a man would have, there shouldn't have been any reason for him to object. Who knows? Most probably Feixu doesn't catch his fancy." The ice-cold, snowy light outside seeped in. Mu Xuanyin lazily laid down, her dress pulled up her jade legs. With their delicate pink gloss, her legs rose above the ice chair. Each and every single one of her toes were small and lustrous like ice crystals. The front and back of her feet were silky smooth. It was as if they were smeared with a layer of cream, as smooth as jade and as soft as satin, and only in front of Mu Bingyun would she appear this unscrupulous. "Doesn't catch his fancy?" Mu Bingyun shook her head. "With Feixu's looks, that shouldn't be the case." "That's completely different." With her slender snow hand, she swept the side of her endlessly bewitching blue hair behind her ear. Mu Xuanyin suddenly smiled with her focused gaze on Mu Bingyun. A beautiful, bewitching color appeared within her eyes. "Since he isn't willing to have Feixu, then only a single method remains." "What method?" Mu Bingyun's eyes swept over, however, the moment they met Mu Bingyun's entrancing smile. She unconsciously shifted them away again. "Of course, the only method left is my good little sister personally offering her vital yin in order to raise his profound strength and repay him for saving her life." The moment she said that, Mu Xuanyin was already letting out a tender laugh. Mu Bingyun's beautiful icy face was unmoved. "Sis, don't fool around." Outside, Mu Bingyun had to behave respectfully in front of Mu Xuanyin. However, privately the two of them were sisters which could share any secret, and there was not a single impurity in their feelings for each other. They were both each other's only relative in the world. However, there was an extreme difference in their demeanors and personalities. One of them was a fairy who was as cold as snow, while the other was a bewitching enchantress who could bring calamities to the world. "Geez, can't you give a little playful reaction and entertain your big sis a little?" Mu Xuanyin lightly pursed her lips. Though, taking in a male disciple was more fun than expected. "Fun? You're talking about Yunqi? Not only is he fun, his comprehension ability is simply extraordinarily high. In just a single day, he comprehended the moon-splitting cascade. A comprehension ability like that?" Mu Xuanyin's eyes lightly narrowed. "Most likely, no one in those king realms can be used as comparison either. This is also the main reason why elder sister suddenly has the desire to raise him quickly, right?" Mu Bingyun said. "I'm preparing to have him make a trip to the Ice Wind Empire with Mu Hanyi." Her delicate peach-colored lips slightly curved, the bewitching glow in her eyes gradually turned deep and profound. In order to have him personally retrieve that Ice Killen's horn. Author's note, P.S. Even if Xianxia were to completely comprehend the Golden Crow's record of burning world, he wouldn't be able to release the 9 Suns' Heaven's Fury. Let's put it this way. The minimum MP needed to cast 9 Suns' Heaven's Fury is 5 million, while the maximum being limitless. Xianxia's current max MP is 54,250, so, I'm sorry, it's the sequela from playing net games. Bingyun slightly moved her brows as she said, since that's the case, it's best to select an elder to go along with him in order to protect his well-being. After all, his cultivation level is truly too low. Let's not do that. Mu Xuanyin shook her head. I'm preparing to send him there alone. Alone? Mu Bingyun was slightly stunned, and she pondered about it right after. If he can't come back alive or fails to retrieve the Qilin horn, then I won't be bothered to spend so much effort to help him any longer. After all, Mu Xuanyin's eyes seemed to carry a little resentment. The price is simply a little too huge. Haya, I'm the almighty Snow Song Realm King, yet I'm being so troubled by such a little brat. I just don't feel content enough. Seeing Mu Xuanyin's seemingly childish attitude, Mu Bingyun lightly smiled and shook her head. Though Xianxia's profound level is low, he is already your direct disciple. The news should have already spread by now, so basically not a single person in the Snow Song Realm would dare touch him. How could he possibly face any danger? That might not be certain. Mu Xuanyin slightly narrowed her eyes. The guts of a few people might even be larger than the sky itself. No matter how that little brat is going to retrieve the Qilin horn and come back alive, it will all be based on his own capabilities. Mu Bingyun did not pursue this matter further. After a short while, she turned around and said, since that's the case, let Xiaolan go along with him then. Xiaolan has not seen her parents ever since she entered the sect. Her parents will definitely make an appearance in the 1,000-year birthday celebration of the Emperor of the Ice Wind Empire. Let's make use of this opportunity to have their family come together for once. Her longing for her hometown can be eased as well. Mu Xuanyin lightly pursed her lips and then, she suddenly said sheepishly, you sure are treating that little one especially well. What if there comes a day you don't want your big sis anymore? Mu Bingyun said with a helpless look, fooling around again. Mu Xuanyin lightly giggled and then, she tenderly said, but you must tell your Xiaolaner to be careful. This little brat that your big sis has just taken in is especially dangerous for women. Mu Bingyun nodded in agreement. Indeed. So you noticed as well. Even Feixu's mind has been unsettled by him, your Xiaolaner. A mischievous fog swirled within Mu Xuanyin's watery eyes. She might become a lamb that enters the tiger's den. When that happens, she will be thinking of him all day and night, and she might not have the time to care about her master anymore. Feixu? Shock filled Mu Bingyun's eyes, but she firmly shook her head immediately after. Impossible. Feixu's personality is close to mine, and it's basically impossible for her heart to be moved by men. She might harbor a bit of gratitude when Xianxia rejected the dual cultivation proposal, but it's definitely impossible for her to stir up feelings for him because of this matter. That's why I said that he's really dangerous for women. When she recalled Mu Feixu's dazed look and misty eyes when she left back then, the corner of Mu Xuanyin's brows slightly curved. Mu Xuanyin lazily rose from the ice chair. Following the wiggling of her slender waist, her snowy breasts lightly trembled and the ice phoenix mark on them shook up and down, squeezed by the overflowing plumpness. Mu Xuanyin let out a light sigh from her fragrant lips. When heard, it was as if it was a sexy moan. It's time to peek at that little brat again. I locked him in the heavenly Netherfrost Lake and instructed him to obediently cultivate the moon-splitting cascade, yet he has been sneakily training on the Golden Crow's record of the burning world. I have beaten and scolded him so many times, yet he's still this disobedient. It's so frustrating. Mu Bingyun. On the 14th day, Xianxia was locked in the heavenly Netherfrost Lake. Though he was said to be locked in, entering a place like the heavenly Netherfrost Lake even once was the wish of many Ice Phoenix disciples. Xianxia used 7 days to comprehend and familiarize himself with the last 3 realms of the Golden Crow's record of the burning world, but he had yet to train in them. In the remaining time, he spent them all at training the moon-splitting cascade. After all, Mu Xuanyin had ordered him to train the moon-splitting cascade with all his might before she left, and that she would even personally assess him later on. If he were to disappoint her, the consequences would be severe. Probably because he had the matured star god's broken shadow as foundation, Xianxi's progress on the moon-splitting cascade was extremely quick. After he grasped the basics, the speed of his progress grew even faster. After exhausting his strength from his training, he would submerge himself in the heavenly Netherfrost lake, and very quickly, his spirits and profound energy would completely recover. Much faster than sitting on the Starpiker stone. His profound strength was also rapidly growing during this process. However, this rate of growth, when compared to his goal of reaching the divine tribulation realm in 2 years, was still far from being attainable. High up in the sky, Mu Xuanyin was silently looking down, watching Xianxia constantly breaking into afterimages amidst the flashes of cold light. Though he was still far from reaching the within shadow realm, his instantaneous speed and intervals were already especially seasoned. They could barely be used for actual battles. This rate of progress was definitely unprecedented in the history of the Snow Song realm. Once again, having exhausted his strength from the training, Xianxia let out a long sigh. Just as he was about to dive into the heavenly lake, the moment he turned around, he suddenly realized a snowy figure was presently standing next to him. Her eyes were ice gold, emitting endless, chilling might. Xianxia hurriedly stepped forward and kneeled. "Disciple greets master." A long while after he knelt, Xianxia did not receive a response. Merely an icy, bone-piercing might was coldly pressing onto his body and soul. It was as if countless thorns of ice were pointing right at his throat, causing his entire body to stiffen, not daring to make a move. She couldn't be settling the scores from back then, right? Xianxia thought as he coughed out a chilling breath. "Progress is acceptable. It seems like you indeed do not require me to instruct you at the side. That sure saves some worry." However, there was not a single angry intention in her ice-cold voice, and the meaning behind her words could be considered praise as well. Xianxia instantly heaved a sigh of relief. "Thank you, teacher, for your praise. This disciple is dumb and slow. In the future, if I have anything I do not understand, I will still need to trouble master for a solution." Dumb and slow. HMPH, rise. Mu Xuanyin coldly snorted, and then her brows suddenly sank. "Chair, give master an honest reply to the question that's about to be asked. Why do you have the aura of a true dragon?" Xianxi's heart skipped a beat, yet he did not dare to reply right away. "Furthermore, that's not a typical true dragon aura." Mu Xuanyin stared at him, her ice-cold eyes making Xianxia clearly feel as if his own consciousness and soul had already been penetrated through. He hesitated for a few moments before deciding to speak the truth. "In reply to master, other than the phoenix and the golden crow, this disciple once obtained the inheritance of the dragon god." "Dragon god?" A moment of shock flashed within Mu Xuanyin's eyes. "The dragon god you speak of, could you be referring to the sovereign of 10,000 beasts during the era of gods, the primordial azure dragon, leader of the dragon race?" "Yes," Xianxia nodded. No wonder. Though still shocked, some of Mu Xuanyin's suspicions were alleviated. "The anomaly of your profound strength is related to the power of the evil god, while your comparably abnormal physique actually originates from the dragon god bloodline within you." HMPH, speaking of which, the planet you're born in sure is extraordinary. There's actually this many god legacies residing on it. Putting aside the phoenix and golden crow, the legacy of the dragon god is actually there as well. Xianxia. It's even the dragon god's legacy. In other words, the dragon god bloodline within your body is the primordial bloodline, the first-generation bloodline of the dragon god. Mu Xuanyin's icy eyes narrowed. A chilling light condensed within them. If the dragon god realm knew of this matter, they would definitely be extremely interested in you. "Dragon god realm?" Xianxia softly muttered. He clearly remembered this name. The primordial azure dragon had once mentioned it to him. Among the eastern, western, southern, and northern 4 divine regions of the god realm, the western divine region is the strongest, Mu Xuanyin indifferently explained. Out of the 17 king realms of the 4 divine regions, the western divine region alone takes up 6 of them, with the dragon god realm at the head of the 6 king realms. It is the unrefuted ruler of the western divine region, and it's also established as the strongest star realm of the god realm. God realm's strongest. Xianxi's eyes slightly widened. The strongest of the god realm also meant that it was the strongest existence in the entire primal chaos dimension. Mu Xuanyin continued. "In our eastern divine region, the human race make up more than 70% of the people here, while the other races do not even take up 30%. However, 70% of the residents of western divine region are demons." The people in Dragon God realm were all true dragons in the first place, so their physiques and aptitudes far surpassed all of the other races. Furthermore, they even received the legacy of the primordial azure dragon. As long as one is born a true dragon, they would possess unparalleled strength at the moment of birth. Adding their close compatibility with the divine power of the dragon god, it's only natural that they're powerful. The realm king of the dragon god realm is also known as the strongest individual of the present god realm. The Brahma monarch realm king, strongest in our eastern divine region, isn't his match either. Xianxia's heart trembled as he heard these words. The dragon was the sovereign of countless beasts, so it would make sense that they were the sovereign of countless living beings as well. Humans were extremely weak at the moment of their births, while a young dragon which had just been born could shake the earth and split the seas. If they were to add in the divine power of the primordial azure dragon, taking the top spot of God realm was indeed only natural. Wait a minute, Dragon Emperor. Then, seeing Xianxia suddenly frown, Mu Hanyi shifted her eyes to his and said, "You've heard of the Dragon Emperor?" "Ah," Xianxia shook his head. "I did not. However, this disciple did hear of someone called Dragon Queen from Senior Sister. Junior Sister Xiaolan, and she seemed to be titled along with the goddess. Is she perhaps someone from Dragon God realm as well?" Dragon Queen and Goddess. Mu Xiaolan mentioned then that they were peerless women whose beauty were converged from the entirety of God realm, and that every single person of God realm knew of them. Mu Xuanyin lightly stared at Xianxia for a moment. Goddess refers to the Brahma monarch goddess of our eastern divine region, while Dragon Queen is the wife of the Dragon Emperor. As expected, Xianxia nodded. Indeed, since the Dragon Emperor was publicly recognized as the sovereign of the God realm, then, other than his wife, no one else would dare refer herself as the Dragon Queen. If the beauty of Dragon Empress and Goddess of rumors truly were the convergence of all the elegance and beauty of the God realm, as told by Mu Xiaolan, then the only person who could match such a wondrous woman would be the God realm's strongest person who stood at the peak of the primal chaos dimension. "But there's no need for you to worry," Mu Xuanyin said. "Though the Dragon God realm is mighty and tyrannical, they have never acted imperiously, nor are they conservative. They have never restricted themselves from having marriages with other races, and have always been respected by the countless realms of Western divine region. Though they might be curious about your bloodline, they would not take any sort of drastic action. There might even be a possibility that they would invite you into Dragon God realm because of your primordial bloodline. If you didn't accept their offer, they wouldn't force it upon you either." This disciple understands now. Thank you, Master, for the information. Compared to those sects and star realms who were afraid of their bloodlines leaking out, the Dragon God realm indeed possessed the demeanor of one which stood at the top of God realm, the sovereign of countless beasts. However, Xianxia still firmly imprinted the three words Dragon God realm in his soul, because not only did his body carry the Dragon God bloodline, he even possessed the Dragon God soul and Dragon God marrow. When the primordial azure dragon bestowed him these back then, he had clearly mentioned this to him. His Dragon God soul and Dragon God marrow were the only ones in existence. In other words, he was the only person who possessed the Dragon God soul and Dragon God marrow. The Dragon God realm might not be too sensitive in regards to his bloodline, but there was no guarantee that they wouldn't have any reaction towards the one and only Dragon God soul and Dragon God marrow. Though he was presently in the eastern divine region and would never step into the northern divine region in his lifetime, it was still best to be careful, and he should not make the same mistake of exposing Star God's broken shadow back then. Mu Xuanyin sternly said, "Since you're presently in the God realm and you're bent on heading to eternal heaven realm, there's a need for you to understand a little more about the God realm. However, before that, there's an even more important matter for you to attend to." "What matter? Master, please pass me your instructions." "Universe Penta Jade Pellet." Mu Xuanyin slowly uttered a single name. "Universe Penta Jade Pellet," Xianxia muttered under his breath. This was clearly the name of some kind of medicine, but it actually had the word universe in its name, so one could well imagine that it was definitely extremely extraordinary. "Master, this is..." Mu Xuanyin's eyes faintly shone. "Since you have rejected the notion of using the Ice Phoenix Vital Yin to raise your profound strength, then I can only think of one method which would allow you to achieve the divine tribulation realm before the profound God convention. That method is the Universe Penta Jade Pellet." Xianxia's pupils contracted slightly as he said in disbelief, Could it be that this universe pentajade pellet could possibly allow my profound strength to reach the divine tribulation realm in 2 years? No, Mu Xuanyin actually shook her head. It isn't a case of whether it is possible or not, because it will definitely happen. Furthermore, it won't even take 2 years. If you can obtain a universe pentajade pellet and successfully refine it within your body, then that single pellet will be sufficient enough to directly boost your profound strength into the divine tribulation realm. Yuan Qi's mouth hung open, but he did not get too excited. Instead, he spoke in a relaxed voice. It should be extremely difficult to obtain a universe pentajade pellet, correct? A medicine which would allow someone in the divine origin realm to directly step into the divine tribulation realm. This would be considered a heaven-defying item even in the God realm, so how could it be something that was easily obtained? If that was the case, then Mu Xuanyin would not have chosen to first suggest the method which would sacrifice the majority of the Ice Phoenix vital yins they possessed. It is not merely extremely difficult. In fact, it is far more difficult and challenging than you can imagine. Even if you exhausted the entire power of the Snow Song realm, finding one within the next 2 years would still be as difficult as scaling the heavens. Mu Xuanyin coldly uttered the words which did not surprise Yuan Qi in the slightest. Before one is able to refine the universe pentajade pellet, you would need to possess 5 extremely rare and hard-to-obtain items, which each contain an entirely different kind of power. These 5 objects are the Qilin Horn, Ancient Dragon Heart, Wood Spirit Orb, 9-star Divine Buddha Jade, and the Immortal Emperor Grass. As the name implied, the Qilin Horn referred to the horn of a Qilin. Other than this one item, Yuan Qi had not ever heard any of those other names, so he could not even begin to understand what they were. Furthermore, the mystical creature known as the Qilin was something that only existed in the annals of the profound sky continent and the illusory demon realm. No one knew if they truly ever existed before. But since Mu Xuanyin had named the Qilin Horn, this at the very least proved that the Qilin was not merely a profound beast formed from a figment of imagination. Mu Xuanyin unhurriedly continued from where she had left off. The ancient dragon heart is simply the heart of an ancient dragon. Furthermore, this ancient dragon needs to be a true dragon who has lived for more than 100,000 years, and the heart needs to be whole and complete. Yuan Qi's head fiercely jerked upwards. Master, the complete horned dragon heart that you requested from the flame god realm the other day, could it be for the sake of? The horned dragon that had lived in the ancient god-burying inferno prison had not lived for a mere 100,000 years. That is something you don't need to bother about. Mu Xuanyin coldly cut him off. If it is just a heart of a horned dragon alone, even if we have successfully obtained one, it will be completely useless if you cannot find the other 4 materials. Yuan Qi did not speak again, but a slightly peculiar feeling arose in his heart. As for the Wood Spirit Orb, that is the life origin orb of the Wood Spirit race, we can only obtain it from the body of someone belonging to the Wood Spirit race. Wood Spirit race? Yuan Qi was briefly stunned by those words. He instantly recalled that he had heard this name from Jasmine's own mouth before, and she also seemed to have mentioned that this race possessed very strong nature energy. Mu Xuanyin glanced at him before continuing. The Wood Spirit race is a branch of the Elven race. They possess nature energy that is unsurpassed in this world, and they are also able to speed up the growth of spirit herbs and plants. But what does not match up with their extremely pure and special nature energy is the fact that the offensive power of said energy is extremely weak. Due to this fact, they were often taken as slaves who helped to cultivate spirit medicine. Moreover, not only does their life origin orb, which is also the Wood Spirit Orb, contain the purest form of natural energy, it could also be used as a high-quality ingredient. Furthermore, it also has one other immense effect known to everyone. As the quality of medicine increases, the difficulty of refining said medicines increases as well. Furthermore, the moment one fails, it would result in a huge loss. In fact, it's possible that hundreds or even thousands of years' worth of accumulated materials would be completely lost as well. But if you were to pour in the energy of a Wood Spirit Orb during the refining process, the rate of success will rise by a tremendous amount. The greater the spiritual energy within the Wood Spirit Orb, the easier it will be for that refining to succeed. Because of this, the people of the Wood Spirit race have been cruelly enslaved and hunted down, and there are very few of them left. Even though the enslaving or hunting of the Wood Spirit race has now provoked the wrath of the righteous sects, and no one dares to brazenly run wild anymore, The number of profound practitioners who have secretly sought or hunted the wood spirit race has not decreased at all. As a result, the wood spirit race has been on the brink of extinction since many years ago. As the possessors of the purest nature energy in the world, they should have been protected by the very heavens. But who would have thought that the extremely and obviously sacred nature energy within their bodies would turn out to be the source of their nightmares? Xianxia muttered softly. One could well imagine that the price of the wood spirit orbs would definitely soar as the wood spirit race slowly dwindled. And in turn, this would naturally cause those hunters to grow even more crazed and desperate. Even though hunting and killing the wood spirit race is in violation of heaven's laws compared to the other 4 items, the wood spirit orb is the easiest to obtain. As long as you are willing to pay a sufficient price, one would be able to purchase it in the black markets of the lower star realms. But if one wanted to find a wood spirit orb composed of more than 70% spiritual energy, it would be 100 times harder than usual, Mu Xuanyin proclaimed as her brows knitted together. Why? Is it because it is very easy for the spiritual energy within the wood spirit orb to dissipate? Xianxia asked. You're exactly right. The wood spirit orb needs to be housed within black jade of the highest quality. However, the spiritual energy is usually not lost when the wood spirit orb is being stored. It is lost when the wood spirit orb is being extracted. Xianxia, when it is being extracted, the wood spirit will die the moment the wood spirit orb is extracted. But because the energy contained within the wood spirit orb is far too pure, the moment it leaves the wood spirit's body, the energy within the orb will swiftly begin to dissipate. Furthermore, when a wood spirit knows that he is definitely going to die, he will destroy his own spirit orb. If that is the case, even preserving 50% of the spiritual energy will be extremely hard, much less 70%. So if one wants to obtain a wood spirit orb, which still has 70% or more of its spiritual energy, one needs to kill a wood spirit while they are still unawares and extract and store the wood spirit orb within a black jade box at the greatest possible speed. Even in such a case, being able to preserve 80% of its spiritual energy is already the best possible scenario. But a wood spirit's power grants them extremely keen powers of perception. As a result, they are also extremely sensitive to things like wicked intent, so trying to hunt and kill a wood spirit without them being aware of it is something that is incomparably difficult to accomplish. Since that is the case, wood spirit orbs, which still contain the majority of its spiritual energy, are practically priceless. There is also another scenario, one where a wood spirit willingly sacrifices his own life and extracts the wood spirit orb from his body. Under these kind of circumstances, due to the fact that there will still be some connection with the wood spirit's vitality, it will perfectly preserve all 100% of the wood spirit orb's spiritual energy. However, this kind of scenario naturally almost never happens. Xianxia nodded his head as he earnestly listened to Mu Xuanyin's words. As for the 9-star divine Buddha jade and the immortal emperor grass, Mu Xuanyin's brows knit together once more as she continued. These are items which are extremely hard to find in the entire God realm, rare treasures which not many people even know about. Their existence is not something the current you can even begin to understand. I have already sent others to look for them. Whether we can find them or not entirely depends on your good fortune. Then, what about the Xiaolan horn? Xianxia unwittingly asked, because it was the only thing that Mu Xuanyin had not talked about. This is the task that I am going to entrust to you next, Mu Xuanyin said. Sudden comprehension washed over Xianxia. Could it be that there is already news of a Xiaolan horn? The Xiaolans in the eastern divine region have long since gone extinct, so I sent people to search for them in the western divine region. But after that, I managed to find out something completely by chance. What I found out was that there was still a complete Xiaolan horn somewhere in the Snow Song realm. Mu Xuanyin said emotionlessly, It is in the northern part of the Snow Song realm, a place called the Ice Wind Empire. Ice Wind Empire? Xianxia muttered under his breath. But after that, he immediately recalled something. The Ice Wind Empire where Mu Hanyi was born. That's right. Mu Xuanyin gave a slow nod of her head. The Xiaolan horn we're talking about is an ice Xiaolan horn, and the Ice Wind Empire has passed it down for nearly 100,000 years. They have designated it as their holidom. Countless nations have risen and fallen in this Snow Song realm, but the Ice Wind Empire has been able to flourish for nearly 100,000 years. This is without a doubt due to the existence of their holidom. So it is definitely something that is held in extreme reverence and importance. so it will naturally be difficult to get them to hand it over. Furthermore, it is soon going to be the 1000th birthday of the current ruler of the Ice-Wind Empire. So you should go together with Mu Hanyi to the Ice-Wind Empire to obtain that Kilin horn and bring back. But this is something that even Mu Hanyi cannot know, much less the Ice-Wind Empire. As to how you are going to obtain it, that will depend on your own ability. If Mu Xuanyin simply uttered a single word, the Ice-Wind Empire would definitely run thousands of miles to offer it up without caring whether it was a holidom or not. They would not even dare to make a single fart, so how could it be difficult? Xianxia immediately understood after that. This was clearly a test and a form of tempering that Mu Xuanyin wanted him to undergo. At the same time, it would also allow him to truly come into contact with the God realm. After all, he had not taken a step outside of the divine Ice Phoenix sect ever since he had come to the God realm. Understood, Xianxia unhesitantly gave a heavy nod of his head. This disciple definitely will not let Master down. After all, he was the direct disciple of the Snow Song Realm King. Once he presented his status, even the emperor of a country would have to treat him with deference and respect. Even if it was a holidom, it should not be too hard to obtain, right? After all, in this Snow Song Realm, who would dare not give any face to the Snow Song Realm King? These thoughts whirled in Xianxi's heart. Very good. Mu Xuanyin slowly nodded her head. When you go to the Ice-Wind Empire this time, there will be no one around to protect you. So you not only have to obtain the Kilin horn, you also have to accomplish one other thing. Come back alive. Xianxi's mouth fell open, but after that his gaze sank. He nodded his head yet again. Yes, disciple will engrave it in his heart. Mu Xuanyin's hand stretched out, and with a light swing of her hand, a white and red jade bottle gently flew out and landed in Xianxi's hands. The white bottle contains the breath of a horned dragon. Mu Xuanyin said, Bingyun was struck by its poison 1,000 years ago, so I have been researching it ever since as I hope to find out a way to purge it. But now that the poison in Bingyun's body has been completely cleansed, there is no point in keeping it any longer. As you have the sky poison pearl on your person, it is naturally much easier for you to handle poisons, so I'm giving it to you. As for the red bottle, it contains the blood of a horned dragon. The moment she mentioned the blood of a horned dragon, Mu Xuanyin's gaze grew unspeakably cold, and not a single ripple appeared in them. It was as if she had never used this to scheme against Xianxi. This is already useless to me. HMPH, perhaps you could find some use for it. Xianxi had personally experienced the dreadfulness of the horned dragon's blood. The breath of the horned dragon was so poisonous that it caused Mu Bingyun, a powerhouse of the divine sovereign realm, to nearly lose her life, so he could well imagine how dreadful it was. He carefully withdrew the 2 bottles before speaking. Thank you, Master. Also, when should this disciple leave for the Ice-Wind Empire? Right now, Mu Bingyun icily replied. Right now, Xianxi said in a stunned voice. Mu Hanyi should already be in Ice Phoenix City. Besides him, there will still be one more person. You'll find out who it is once you get there. Her icy brows slanted slightly. What? Could it be that you still need some time to prepare? No, there's no need for that. Xianxi immediately shook his head. This disciple will head out now. The barrier around the heavenly Netherfrost lake opened and Xianxi immediately left and barreled straight towards Ice Phoenix City. In the vast region of Ice Phoenix City, snow was flying and falling in all directions. When Xianxi left the sacred hall area, he saw the figure of someone awaiting him in the distance. His aura was completely restrained as he stood quietly without making any noise. It was easy to tell he had been waiting for a long period of time by the thickness of the snow that had fallen on him. Seeing Xianxi come out, the person immediately approached him while bathing in the snow that was pouring down ceaselessly. With a smile, he performed a standard salutation towards Xianxi. We meet again so soon, Senior Brother Xianxi. Senior Brother Hanyi, I apologize to have made you wait this long, Xianxi said as he returned his salutation. Mu Hanyi shook his head and said with a wry smile, Hanyi really doesn't deserve to be called the Senior Brother, so I ask Senior Brother Xianxi not to address me in such a manner. Otherwise, I would be in a state of sustained uneasiness. Ha ha ha, Xianxi laughed. All right, now that I'm going to the Ice-Wind Empire, I'd have troubled Junior Brother Hanyi to take care of me. Mu Hanyi promptly shook his head. Senior Brother Xianxi, what are you talking about? It is a matter of unprecedented happiness and glory to Hanyi, Royal Father, and even Ice-Wind Empire that you're coming personally to participate in Royal Father's 1000th birthday celebration. I am simply undeserving of such a favor from the sect master and truly unable to ever repay. Unprecedented. Yuan-Chi felt a bit curious. Something like this has never happened before. It has been quite a short while since you've come to the Snow Song realm. Otherwise, there's no way you would have asked such a question. Mu Hanyi sighed. Hanyi has always been proud to have been born in the Ice-Wind imperial family, but the birthday celebration of a monarch is quite a low-level occasion for a sect master's direct disciple to attend. Hanyi has yet to inform Royal Father about this matter. I'm afraid the moment Royal Father hears of this news, he would find it too exciting and joyous to believe. Mu Hanyi said in all sincerity, if the countless other nations and sects of the Snow Song realm were to know about this, they would probably feel like dying of envy, haha. I see. Yuan-Chi nodded slowly. The identity of a realm king's direct disciple was anything but ordinary. Even if no more than a few months had passed since he entered the Snow Song realm, the identity he had attained far exceeded the status of a monarch. It was perhaps the most exaggerated leap in identity in the history of Snow Song realm. You said that you've yet to inform your royal father. Does that mean you came to know too about this matter just a while ago? Yuan-Chi asked all of a sudden. Yes, Mu Hanyi nodded in agreement. Hanyi was supposed to set off yesterday, but suddenly received a direct order from the sect master, right at the moment of departure. So Hanyi was waiting until now, completely unaware that it would be such a gargantuan pleasant surprise. Yuan-Chi smiled. Honestly, I also received Master's order just now. Seems like Master has always been somewhat concerned about junior brother Hanyi. Mu Hanyi raised his head, and it was not possible to make out his expression. But his tone was clearly shaking with excitement. That's why Hanyi said that it doesn't seem viable to return such a favor. Senior brother Yuan-Chi might not know that this act of kindness would not only benefit Hanyi, but also enormously change the standing of Ice-Wind Empire in the Snow Song realm. Yuan-Chi. Oh, what am I doing? I was so immersed in excitement that I almost forgot something so important. Mu Hanyi took out a shining and dazzling sound transmission jade. I'll inform this matter to Royal Father at once, so that he will be able to make sufficient preparations. Wait. Yuan-Chi stretched out his hand. It'd be better to avoid informing about this matter to your Royal Father in advance. I've been nominated by Master to go to congratulate him after all. If he were to make too many preparations to welcome me, I'd end up becoming the focus of everyone, which would be contrary to the reason behind this trip. Mu Hanyi was slightly astounded. Then he put away the sound transmission jade and said sincerely, Senior brother Yuan-Chi not only possess immensely astonishing talent, but is also so broad-minded that Hanyi can't help but admire. Since that's the case, Hanyi will gladly accept your advice. Giving Royal Father such a huge, pleasant surprise also sounds like a good idea. Yuan-Chi smiled as he said, If it's broad-mindedness, I'm far worse than you. Mu Hanyi smiled with a faintly stiff expression before sighing lightly. Senior brother Yuan-Chi, Hanyi doesn't possess a heart that can accommodate everything. Frankly speaking, I'm very envious. No, jealous of you to be exact. I even held resentment towards you for several days. Yuan-Chi, Mu Hanyi shook his head with a forced smile. Perhaps senior brother Yuan-Chi has heard about the two things Hanyi has longed for in the sect over these years. First, to become a direct disciple of sect master. Second, to win over junior sister Feixu's heart. However, in the end, that day when Hanyi lost to senior brother Yuan-Chi at the Netherfrost Heavenly Lake, Hanyi was self-aware that it was a crushing, fair, and square defeat. But I still harbored grudge in my heart and felt depressed for several days. And half a month ago, when the sect master granted junior sister Feixu to senior brother Yuan-Chi, Mu Hanyi closed his eyes at this moment, although he looked quite calm. But the tone of his voice and the expression in his eyes reflected the unrest in his mind and heart. He didn't continue to speak any further, and instead gave a wry smile. I definitely embarrassed myself before senior brother Yuan-Chi. No, Yuan-Chi said. If the two most important things in your life were to be snatched away by someone else, even a legendary true saint would likely find it impossible to get rid of those negative emotions with ease. I can only feel gratefulness and admiration towards you for being willing to tell me your thoughts so calmly. But Mu Hanyi shook his head. Senior brother Yuan-Chi's profound power might be low at the moment, but Hanyi is no match when it comes to talent. It was natural that the sect master would choose senior brother Yuan-Chi as her direct disciple. Junior sister Feixu is a fairy-like person, and only if someone with senior brother Yuan-Chi's caliber deserves her in the entire Snow Song realm. My feelings towards her were no more than one-sided infatuation, and Hanyi is in fact already well aware of it all. It was just that Hanyi was still depressed. It was difficult to feel at peace. Now that Hanyi has confessed everything before senior brother Xianxia, Hanyi's heart is in a lot more comfortable state than before. Senior brother Xianxia, facing Xianxia, Mu Hanyi said with an incomparably sincere gaze, Hanyi would like to shamelessly beseech you of a thing. Go ahead. The cultivation of an ice phoenix woman would become a lot slower after losing her vital yin. And senior brother Xianxia himself possesses an extremely high talent. Mu Hanyi took a light breath. So, there will come a day when senior brother Xianxia's cultivation will surpass junior sister Feixu. I only hope that senior brother Xianxia could always treat junior sister Feixu well. It hadn't been made known publicly that Mu Feixu was rejected by Xianxia. In addition, she rarely made an appearance in the sacred hall during this period of time. Therefore, everyone in the sect firmly believed that she was serving Xianxia at the sacred hall, except for a few people. It was ordered by the sect master herself during the great sect assembly after all. Xianxia nodded. Don't worry, I'd never let my woman suffer grievance. Having finished his words, Xianxia turned away from him. He looked to the vast, white sky in the distance as unusual streaks of light flashed through the depths of his eyes. This person, in that case, Hanyi can also put his mind at rest, feeling no regret at the outcome. Mu Hanyi sighed. Oh right, Master said that there's someone who will be accompanying us. Xianxia said. Does junior brother Hanyi who it is? Mu Hanyi shook his head. I have no idea, but... He turned his body to look sideways in the opposite direction. Very soon, a ice boat appeared in the vast expanse of horizon, traveling through the snow as it made its way over to them. On the ice boat, there were figures of two women clad in blue. It was actually Mu Bingyun and Mu Xiaolan. A cold gleam flashed, after which the ice boat had already stopped right in front of them. Although Xianxia hadn't seen her for many days, she still seemed as usual, like a fairy that had descended to the world of mortals. Her absolute beauty contained flawless chilliness, rendering others unable to harbor dirty thoughts towards her. Mu Xiaolan could be seen behind her, dressed in a blue robe, and excitement was evident on her tender and pretty face. Palace Master, could it be that the person accompanying us to Ice Wind Empire is? Yin-Chi said with a surprised look. Right, it's me. Mu Xiaolan walked forward with a proud smile on her face. When she turned to Mu Hanyi, her attitude became a lot more respectful. Senior brother Hanyi, I'd be troubling you. Xianxia Hanyi, Mu Bingyun said. Xiaolan's parents would certainly go over to attend the celebration of the Ice Wind Emperor's 1000th birthday, which just happens to coincide with your trip this time. So when you get there, do let her have a reunion with them. Also, make sure to keep her from harm on the way. Understood. Hanyi guarantees with his life that I'll keep junior sister Xiaolan safe and sound during this journey to and from the Ice Wind Empire. I ask Palace Master to be at ease, Mu Hanyi respectfully said in a serious tone. Yes. Xianxia responded as he groaned inwardly. I'm going to the Ice Wind Empire in order to take care of an important matter. Right now, I don't even know how to get my hands on the holidom, and you're actually handing over such a drag to us. Hanyi, you should have set off yesterday, and waiting up to now has delayed your journey by a bit. If you ride on this ice boat, you should be able to make it in time. Mu Bingyun got off the ice boat and glanced at Xianxia with a meaningful look in her eyes. The ice boat began to float up into the sky before streaming past with a speed that appeared as fast as light, heading straight to the north. Xianxia, how do you feel about becoming the sect master's direct disciple? Mu Xiaolan looked totally curious. Is sect master very strict with you? Of course she is. Xianxia let out a long sigh. Palace Master Bingyun is still the most gentle and soft person. He might have said so, but his heart had been shaking and rippling all this time. Mu Xuanyin obtained Golden Crow's record of the burning world for his sake, and she wanted an intact heart of horned dragon for none other than him. When she thought of rapidly increasing his profound strength, she didn't hesitate to sacrifice the vital yin of a large number of Ice Phoenix women, which should be an unprecedentedly huge price anyone was willing to pay in the history of sect. Even if she succeeded in gathering all the ingredients for a heaven-defying thing like universe pentajade pellet, it would certainly require the consumption of a great amount of resources. But Mu Xuanyin didn't hesitate to carry out something as demanding as that. Why does she treat me so well? Is it really just because I've become her direct disciple as well as saved Mu Bingyun's life? Hey, you can't put it like that. Mu Xiaolan jumped a bit in fright. You would end up tragically if the sect master heard your words. Yes, yes, I'll seriously obey Senior Sister Xiaolan's instructions, Xianxia said in a helpless tone, constantly thinking about ways to bring up the matter of Qilin Horn after arriving at the Ice Wind Empire. HMPH, even if you have become a direct disciple of the sect master, you should still listen to the words of your senior sister. Mu Xiaolan slightly puckered up her lips. If you truly feel grateful to Master, then let's see whether you do as you said when we return to Ice Phoenix Palace. Don't just use your mouth and show it in your attitude. Yes, yes, yes. Xianxia nodded like a machine. Mu Hanyi looked at them with a face full of surprise. He was clearly shocked by the way they addressed each other. Soon after, he sighed with emotion. Senior brother Xianxia is truly a charming person. Mu Xiaolan made a small sound of dissent before refuting his words. Senior brother Hanyi is only saying that because of not being aware of his awfulness. HMPH. He is just a bad person, nothing more than that. Fortunately, senior brother Hanyi is a man. If you were a woman, you would need to be a lot more careful around him. Ha ha ha, Mu Hanyi laughed aloud, and then the expression in his eyes turned distant. A man should be amorously romantic, otherwise wouldn't it be a waste to spend a dull life? However, senior brother Xianxia has junior sister Feixu now, so I'm afraid it might be impossible for any other woman to catch his attention. HMPH. He must be feeling super complacent. Mu Xiaolan lowered her head unconsciously as she said in a very low voice. The ice boat was flying against the wind, traveling at a speed that seemed fast as light. On the way, Mu Hanyi explained the history, local conditions and customs of the Ice Wind Empire, and the time passed pretty quickly. Within a day, the ice boat had finally entered the territory of the Ice Wind Empire. Afterwards, it quickly approached the center of the imperial city. At this time, Mu Hanyi took out the sound transmission jade to directly message the Ice Wind Emperor. Royal Father, your son is close to the imperial city now and will arrive in a short while. There's also 2 honored guests from the sect along with me. Today, Ice Wind Imperial City was particularly bustling with activities and traffic due to their monarch's 1000th birthday celebration. Countless guests were arriving from places quite a bit far away. A wide difference could be observed in the atmosphere of the entire imperial city. Just as Mu Hanyi put away the sound transmission jade, he saw a small-sized, profound arc flying over at an extremely fast speed. It drew closer and closer, also heading right towards the center of Imperial City. Mu Xiaolan raised her head. When she got a clear view of the 2 figures standing at the forefront of the small, profound arc, her beautiful eyes widened abruptly. She let out a shaky cry that was both pleasantly surprised and excited. Father, mother. At the same as when Mu Xiaolan shouted, the people on the profound arc looked in their direction. The couple of 2 in front were joyfully surprised as they simultaneously flew off of the profound arc and arrived in front of Mu Xiaolan. The ice boat stopped soon after. These 2 were none other than Mu Xiaolan's parents, the region lords of an independent domain in the eastern area of the Ice Wind Empire, and the current heads of the famous Sidu family of the Snow Song realm. It was Sidu Xuanyin and his wife, Madame Sidu. Lanlin, it truly is you. The Sidu couple excitedly greeted them as they arrived on the boat and quickly grabbed Mu Xiaolan's hands, disbelief in their eyes. Lanlin, why are you here? Sidu Xuanyin's face was calm, but he couldn't hide his own excitement. I came along with senior brother Hanyi. Master specifically allowed it so that I could come and reunite with mother and father. As Mu Xiaolan spoke, her eyes grew red. From her youth, she had grown up under the immense love from her parents. However, because she had entered Divine Ice Phoenix sect, it had been several years since she had last seen them. Senior brother Hanyi? This name caused Sidu Xuanyin's gaze to suddenly turn as his originally calm expression abruptly changed. Perhaps could you be? Let me introduce everyone to mother and father. He is senior brother Mu Hanyi. Mother and father have probably heard of him before. Mu Hanyi? Sure enough, the moment Mu Xiaolan's words faded, Sidu Xuanyin and his wife both immediately turned and looked at Mu Hanyi. Their eyes were full of approval, and even a little bit of excitement and surprise. Sidu Xuanyin hurriedly took the initiative to walk several steps forward as he praisingly said, So you are the esteemed Prince Mu Hanyi of the rumors. It is said that your highness is unmatched not only in looks and grace, but also in talent. After meeting you today, it seems like the rumors cannot compare. It is nearly impossible to believe that your profound strength has reached the middle stage of the divine tribulation realm at such an age. Being able to personally meet His Highness today is my good fortune. As an older cultivator, Each and every one of Siduk Xiangyang's words carried a deep admiration and shock. His wife stood beside him nodding in agreement, her eyes lighting up as she observed Mu Hanyi. This was because the person in front of them was the prince of the Ice-Wind Empire, claimed by many to be the most handsome hero within the Snow-Song realm. Senior Brother Hanyi has cared for me a lot within the sect, and has helped me greatly on several occasions. I was only able to come back to the Ice-Wind Empire and meet Mother and Father this time because of Senior Brother Hanyi. Mu Xiaolan said. As the Siduk couple heard these words, they became even more excited and surprised. Siduk Xuanyin cupped his hands and said, "Your Highness Hanyi, this Siduk Xuanyin is immensely grateful for the care you have shown for my daughter. That my daughter can become so close with His Royal Highness is her greatest fortune." "Indeed." Madame Sidhu slightly chuckled as she nodded and said, "To be able to receive His Highness' care, my daughter is indeed lucky. Us being able to reunite as a family is also due to His Highness' kindness. We truly do not know how we can demonstrate our gratefulness towards Your Highness." Mu Hanyi humbly replied, "Auntie and uncle, how can you say such things? As a senior brother, I naturally have to care for the junior brothers and sisters, and I barely did anything this time." Siduk Xuanyin shook his head as he once again praised, "Your Highness' birth, appearance, and talent, as well as Your Highness' incredible achievements are all unparalleled, yet Your Highness is so modest and courteous without a hint of arrogance. It is no wonder everyone praises you so. This one is afraid he will never be able to see anyone like His Highness again. Lanlin, there is still one person you haven't introduced yet." "Who is this?" Madame Sidhu asked as she turned her attention to Xianxia. Mu Xiaolan stood beside Xianxia as she excitedly said, "This person is junior brother Xianxia?" "Yun." Mu Xiaolan had just finished saying Xianxia's name when Siduk Xiangyang's brows furrowed and he asked, "This family name is quite rare. If I remember correctly, it only exists in the Great Blue Snow region. Perhaps." Xianxia stepped forward as he politely said with courtesy, "Auntie and uncle, this junior Xianxia is not from the Snow Song realm, but from a lower realm." "A lower realm?" Siduk Xiangyang slightly nodded, his expression indifferent. "So it was like this. Although junior brother Xianxia was born in a lower realm and has only entered the sect for less than 4 months, he is still incredibly strong. Mu Xiaolan hadn't finished speaking when she was interrupted by Siduk Xiangyang. "It is too cold atop this ice boat. I don't wish for my Lanlin to be frozen to death here. How about we step onto the profound arc before continuing? Your Highness Hanyi, if you do not mind our profound arc for being too simple, why don't you also come along and travel with us?" Mu Hanyi calmly and politely accepted. Hanyi graciously accepts this offer. Siduk Xiangyang sincerely invited Mu Hanyi, but didn't even show the slightest intention of asking Xianxia. In fact, after Mu Xiaolan had introduced Xianxia, Siduk Xiangyang had not looked at Xianxia again. With his profound energy aura of the first level of the divine origin realm and the lack of a Mu surname, as well as Mu Xiaolan's introduction of him as junior brother, in Siduk Xiangyang's eyes, this only meant that Xianxia's status was much lower than Mu Xiaolan's in Divine Ice Phoenix sect. Moreover, he had been born in a lower realm, lowering him yet another level. Good. I have missed our family's profound arc since long again." Overjoyed with reuniting with her family, Mu Xiaolan was completely ignorant of what was happening as she exuberantly made her way onto the profound arc. Xianxia wrinkled his nose as he silently followed behind her. Although small, the decorations within the profound arc were indeed quite luxurious. Moreover, the auras of the servants and guards standing on the sides were all quite dense, demonstrating the considerably large strength of the Sidhu family. Of course, if the Sidhu family were not so strong, they probably would not have been invited to the Ice-Wind Emperor's 1000th birthday celebration. Having boarded her own family's profound arc, Mu Xiaolan felt like she had returned home as she became exuberant and energetic. She naturally pulled on Xianxia's sleeve, smiling as she said, "Even though the sect's ice boat is quite powerful, it is not as comfortable as my family's profound arc. When I was young, Mother and Father would use this profound arc to take me to cool places. Xianxia, were you ever able to board a profound arc like this in your lower realm?" "Although the profound arcs in my realm were slower, they were otherwise practically the same," Xianxia casually replied. When Siduk Xiangyang, who was conversing with Mu Hanyi, glanced over and saw how Mu Xiaolan was pulling on Xianxia's sleeves with a joyful smile on her face, his expression immediately darkened as he hurriedly went over. He placed his hand on Xianxia's shoulder as he said, "Junior, I remember you are called Xianxia, right? Come, let us walk and talk." "Ai, "Father, what are you going to talk with him about?" Surprise emerged on Mu Xiaolan's face. "I'm just going to ask him about some minor matters. You do not need to worry about it." As he said those words, Siduk Xuanyang had already forcefully half-dragged Yuanqi to the side. "What advice does uncle have for me?" Having observed Siduk Xuanyang's expression, Yuanqi had pretty much guessed what he was about to say. The moment he was only facing Yuanqi, Siduk Xuanyang's expression had abruptly darkened as he said, "Earlier, it was mentioned that you had only been in Divine Ice Phoenix sect for 4 months, right? However, seeing how familiar you are with my Lanlin, she must have cared for you quite a bit." "Yes, senior sister Xiaolan has cared for me a lot," Yuanqi answered politely as he courteously nodded in response. "HMPH?" Siduk Xuanyang abruptly sneered as his brows deeply furrowed. "Lanlin's character is pure and kind, but she is nonetheless my only daughter and the only disciple of Fairy Bingyun. Her status is something you cannot compare with, and her future accomplishments are things which you can never hope to achieve. You better not have any laughable, nonsensical ideas." Yuanqi slowly exhaled as he replied, "Uncle, have you misunderstood something?" "Misunderstanding?" Siduk Xuanyang sneered. "HMPH. Boy, I am more than 10 times older than you. Do you really think that your thoughts can be concealed before my eyes? You are someone who has just entered the sect. With your low, profound strength and your status as someone born in a lower realm, for you to have come here with Lanlin, what reason could you possibly have outside of trying to follow her? You should quickly stop dreaming about things you shouldn't dream about. Lanlin is someone you will never be able to be worthy of. Otherwise, when the time comes, do not blame me for not having warned you." Siduk Xuanyang sternly glared at Yuanqi before turning and leaving. Yuanqi stood where he was, completely speechless. Siduk Xuanyang had impatiently warned Yuanqi not because of his words and deeds, but because Mu Xiaolan had so naturally pulled on Yuanqi's sleeve. This subconscious act of intimacy had clearly been an omen of danger for Siduk Xuanyang. As it had been a long time since they had been together, Mu Xiaolan and her mother had much to say to each other. Meanwhile, Siduk Xuanyang, after pulling Yuanqi to the side and reprimanding him, spent the rest of his time fawning over and conversing with Mu Hanyi as the profound arc quickly moved forward into the territory of the Ice-Wind Empire and the palace at its center. "Yuanqi, what did my father say to you just now? It seemed to be really mysterious," Mu Xiaolan secretly asked Yuanqi through a sound transmission. "Ah, your father said he wished to betroth you to me," Yuanqi said weakly. "You, even after becoming the sect master's direct disciple, you still say such nonsense. I'm too lazy to bother with you, HMPH." A little while later, Mu Xiaolan sent him another sound transmission. I just realized that I forgot to introduce your status to my mother and father. Such an important matter." "It would be the best if you didn't," Yuanqi replied weakly. "I'm afraid for your father's heart." Mu Xiaolan. As the wind howled outside, the profound arc arrived above the palace. Glancing outside, one could see hundreds of people standing in front of the main entrance, surrounding a figure in silver clothes with a golden crown on atop his head. It was clearly the current Ice-Wind Emperor himself, Feng Huida. Siduk Xuanyang was stunned for a moment, but then he quickly smiled towards Mu Hanyi as he said, "The Emperor must be incredibly eager to see you for him to personally welcome you after hearing of your Highness' return." Mu Hanyi smiled, but didn't reply. In his heart, he knew that the reason why his royal father had personally come to welcome them was because he had told his father about the 2 esteemed guests of Divine Ice Phoenix, sect he was coming with. As the profound arc descended, the Sidhu couple walked out from the profound arc and then simultaneously saluted. "Siduk Xuanyang greets His Majesty, the Ice-Wind Emperor. We wish for your Majesty's continued longevity and pray for the increased prosperity of your Majesty's empire." Although Siduk Xuanyang was an independent ruler of a territory, as his territory was ever so slightly bordering the Ice-Wind Empire, he still had to pay some respects. "So it was Regent Lord Sidhu. Come, come." Feng Huida personally stepped forward as he beckoned for the couple to rise. "Ice-Wind Emperor," Siduk Xuanyang smiled as he stood up. "See who has arrived." As he spoke, he slightly moved his body, revealing Mu Hanyi, Mu Xiaolan, and Yuanqi, who were all currently exiting the profound arc. Upon seeing Mu Hanyi, Feng Huida's voice immediately became joyously surprised. "Royal brother!" Behind Feng Huida, a youth similarly dressed in silver clothes with a royal aura also shouted out. It was none other than the crown prince of the Ice-Wind Empire, Mu Hanyi's elder brother, Feng Hanj. Mu Hanyi quickly stepped forward as he kneeled heavily on the ground and said, "This son greets royal father and royal brother." It has been a long time since I has paid respects to both of you. Hanyi is ashamed and sorry. It is enough that you have returned. It is enough that you have returned. Feng Huida stuck out his hand as he slowly pulled Mu Hanyi up off the ground. As he looked over Mu Hanyi, the eyes of the emperor became slightly moist. Mu Hanyi's head still hung low as he said in shame, "This son was completely focused on cultivating to try and become the direct disciple of the realm king to bring glory to his homeland and royal father, and thus didn't return home for a long time. However, I am too useless. I have failed and have shamed royal father." "Ah, how can you say such things?" Feng Huida gently shook his head. "Even if our child is not gifted enough to become the direct disciple of the realm king, you are still much better than hundreds of thousands of men in the snow song realm." Feng Huida looked behind Mu Hanyi towards Mu Xiaolan and Xianxia, who were similarly dressed in the attire of the Divine Ice Phoenix sect as he asked, "These two, they are your precious guests from Divine Ice Phoenix sect who came with you?" Mu Hanyi quickly retracted his emotions as he replied, "Indeed, it is these two." Before Mu Hanyi could introduce him any further, Xianxia had already taken the initiative to step forward as he said, "Ice Phoenix disciple Xianxia greets the Ice Wind Emperor." "Ah," Mu Xiaolan hesitated for a moment before quickly following up. "Ice Phoenix disciple Mu Xiaolan greets the Ice Wind Emperor." As he sensed the auras of the two, Feng Huida was incredibly dismayed in his mind. The two were indeed from Divine Ice Phoenix sect, but how could they be considered esteemed guests? It was clear that their statuses were much lower than Mu Hanyi. If he had no earlier, how could he have personally come to welcome them in such a manner of expectancy and fear? Nonetheless, he did not show any of his dismay as he slightly smiled and said, "As you have come from Divine Ice Phoenix sect, you are naturally esteemed guests of my Ice Wind Empire. Regent Lord Sidu, if I have not guessed wrongly, this Mu Xiaolan must be your daughter." Sidu Xuanyin laughed as he responded, "You are correct. No wonder you are the Ice Wind Emperor. Your eyes are indeed able to see through everything." So young, yet she has been able to gain the Mu surname. Her future is truly limitless. Feng Huida smiled as he said, "Regent Lord Sidu, you are blessed to have such a daughter. Enter, enter." With the personal welcome of Feng Huida and Feng Hanj, the group of people entered the palace. Because Mu Hanyi had left a day late, by the time they arrived, the birthday celebration had already gone on for 2 hours. Thus, the main hall was already filled with guests. Moreover, as these guests had all been invited, they were naturally all great figures within the snow song realm. Empire, it naturally possessed considerable national power. Its territory was even larger than the entire profound sky continent itself, and it was publicly acknowledged as the second strongest country in northern snow song realm, next to the sacred Amethyst Empire that was at the northern border. Furthermore, because the two countries were at the borders, they would occasionally have friction between them, but the scared Amethyst Empire was definitely the stronger party. However, Mu Hanyi appeared in the Ice Wind Empire, and when the rumors circulated that Mu Hanyi was the most likely candidate to become the next direct disciple of the Realm King, the sacred Amethyst Empire no longer dared to act arrogantly in front of the Ice Wind Empire. Furthermore, every year of their own accord, they would even dispatch an envoy to cross over millions of kilometers in order to offer Ice Wind Empire a gift. Because of this, though the Ice Wind Empire's national power was weaker than the sacred Amethyst Empire's, in recent years, there was a faint trend that it would soon become the strongest country in the north. And if Mu Hanyi was truly going to become the Realm King's direct disciple, then becoming the #1 country in the Snow Song realm due to their country's fame was but something natural. The Great Hall was crowded. The first 1,000 years of the Ice Wind Emperor was a considerably huge matter. The people who were seated in the hall were all authoritative figures of Ice Wind, powerful figures following on the profound way, along with envoys from the various countries. The moment one entered the Great Hall, the most eye-catching person was a youth dressed entirely in purple clothes. He was seated at the high seats with a vague smile, carrying an extravagant demeanor which he seemed to be born with. Seeing Feng Huida and Feng Hanj, who left their seats earlier, return with the Sidu family, Mu Hanyi and Xianxia, his gaze quickly and meticulously swept across every single one of them. Following after, he slowly stood up with a face revealing a playful and faint smile. "Oh, isn't this Regent Lord Sidu? I have long heard that your daughter possessed outstanding talent and was admitted into Ice Phoenix Palace when she was just a young teen and had been taken in as Fairy Bingyun's disciple. an achievement truly worthy of congratulations. The moment he saw this purple-clothed youth, Xianxia was clearly stunned, as he cried out involuntarily, "'Tis the sacred amethyst crown prince!" This purple-clothed youth was actually the current crown prince of the sacred amethyst empire. The first 1,000 years of the Ice Wind Emperor was not a small matter in the Ice Wind Empire. But when it came to other countries, dispatching an envoy to pay tribute was all that was necessary. However, from the sacred Amethyst Empire, the country with the most national power north of Snow Song Realm, the Crown Prince himself had actually personally made a visit. His arrival was truly an exaggerated matter, and it was no wonder Xianxia would be this dumbfounded. The sacred Amethyst Crown Prince slightly smiled, his gaze shifted towards Mu Hanyi. 13th Prince, it's been a long time. It's been 7 years since we last met, and as expected, your present demeanor has far surpassed the past's. Just by looking at you, I can see that your title of being #1 in the younger generation of Snow Song isn't just an empty rumor. However, it's truly a little unfortunate that you were unable to become the direct disciple of the Realm King. Other than Prince Hanyi, 2 other esteemed guests from Divine Ice Phoenix sect are actually here as well. It's no wonder Ice Wind Emperor would personally give his welcome. My apologies. It seems the Divine sect truly values your esteemed country really heavily. The sacred Amethyst Crown Prince carried a smile, and his words were filled with courtesy as he exuded the demeanor of the Crown Prince of a country. However, not a single person present was a simple figure, so how could they not possibly understand the meaning behind his words? Every single one of his words contained mockery and heart-piercing sarcasm. He was ridiculing the Ice Phoenix Emperor for often saying that Mu Hanyi would soon become the direct disciple of the Realm King. However, in the end, everything came to nothing. As such, the deterrence towards the sacred Amethyst Empire that had lasted for many years had naturally disappeared without a trace from that moment. Not to mention, the sentence, "It seems the Divine Sect truly values your esteemed country really heavily," was even more so absolutely clear sarcasm. Furthermore, earlier, when Ice Wind Emperor Feng Huida received Mu Hanyi's voice transmission which stated that he was coming with 2 esteemed guests from Divine Ice Phoenix Empire, it was as if he had heard a celestial melody and had announced it on sight out of excitement, before bringing along a few people and personally charging out of the Great Hall to welcome them. This event had even aroused the anxiety, eagerness, and envy of the guests in the Great Hall. After all, receiving personal congratulations from important figures of Divine Ice Phoenix sect for a birthday was definitely a great honor. However, the 2 people dressed in the snow robes of Divine Ice Phoenix sect next to Mu Hanyi were not only extremely young, their profound strengths were both merely at the divine origin realm as well. How could they possibly be important figures? They were just 2 disciples, and furthermore, disciples of a low rank. Dispatching disciples that were far from being comparable to Mu Hanyi to participate in the birthday feast. This was simply carefree to the point of being beyond carefree itself. It was akin to not dispatching them in the first place. The people in the Great Hall personally witnessed these 2 esteemed Ice Phoenix guests, and their eagerness and envy instantly turned into shock and disappointment. Furthermore, a few of the envoys and lords from other countries were sighing inwardly, and even secretly laughing to themselves. When the news of Mu Hanyi failing to become the direct disciple of the Realm King spread, the national might of the Ice Wind Empire had already worsened greatly. Additionally, in this 1000th birthday celebration, Divine Ice Phoenix sect actually dispatched 2 low-ranking disciples. If this piece of news were to spread as well, the national might of the Ice Wind Empire would undoubtedly fall once more. There was even a possibility that they would become a laughing stock. In the past few years, because of Mu Hanyi, the sacred Amethyst Empire had significantly shrunk back in the face of the Ice Wind Empire. But now, the sacred Amethyst Empire dispatching the Crown Prince himself was most likely in order to bear witness to the laughable state of the Ice Wind Empire. In the eyes of the crowd, the ridiculing he did earlier was more than just plain unscrupulousness. Mu Hanyi returned a courteous bow as he carried an elegant smile, as though he was completely unaware of the ridicule behind those words. Many thanks to the sacred Amethyst Crown Prince for your praise. Hanyi is humbled by them. The immense love the sect master has towards our Ice Wind Empire is something we cannot hope to repay. To have the sacred Amethyst Crown Prince personally make a visit today, Hanyi is truly pleasantly surprised beyond words. After this feast, we must have a small chat for old time's sake. Ha 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 ha. The sacred amethyst crown prince laughed out loud. He slowly returned to his seat and no longer spoke a word. However, he continued to carry that seemingly meaningful smile on his face. Though Feng Huida was angered in his heart, he kept his feelings in check on the surface and raised his hand. Hanj, bring Region Lord Sidhu's family to their seats, this. Facing Yuanqi, Feng Huida's voice stopped. Earlier, because he was overwhelmed with disappointment, so he did not exactly pay attention to Yuanqi's name. At this moment, he was actually having trouble remembering it, but fortunately, he quickly changed his way of addressing him. This esteemed Ice Phoenix guest, why don't you have a seat with Region Lord Sidhu and his family? Before Feng Huida's voice completely fell, Sidhu Xuanyin had already turned around, seated himself at the seat motioned to by Feng Hanj, picked up a cup, and drank the contents entirely. Clearly, he was rejecting being seated with Yuanqi. Due to the awkwardness for a moment, Feng Hanj did not know if he should call out to Yuanqi to take up his seat. Then he heard Mu Hanyi's voice. Royal Father, it is slightly inappropriate for senior brother Yuanqi to be seated with Region Lord Sidhu. As he spoke, he reached out his hand. Senior brother Yuanqi, please take the high seats. If you have any requests, simply let Hanyi know. The direction Mu Hanyi's hand was facing was actually next to the throne, the seat next to Ice Wind Emperor Feng Huida. His action and words stunned everyone present. Feng Huida was immensely shocked, and then he alarmingly said, Hanyi, earlier you addressed him as senior brother. It was unclear if there were any intentions behind it, but Mu Hanyi displayed a look of sudden realization right at this moment. It's been a long while since this son has returned to the country, and was too overwhelmed with joy when seeing Royal Father. I have actually forgotten about such a huge matter. He stood next to Yuanqi and said with an incomparably stern look, Royal Father, senior brother Yuanqi isn't just my senior brother. Royal Father must be aware that the Realm King has just taken in a new direct disciple half a month ago, and this direct disciple is precisely senior brother Yuanqi. Mu Hanyi's words instantly silenced the entire Great Hall. The words Realm King and direct disciple had especially shocked everyone as if lightning had suddenly struck down from clear skies, their faces paling. As the emperor of a country, even Feng Huida was stunned for a long while before regaining his senses. The face that was filled with valiance and might earlier was instantly covered with fear. Even his body, which carried the prestige of an emperor, hurriedly bent down as he spoke with sincerity and fear. Why, young Yun, so you're actually, Ah no, this little king did not have the eyes to recognize Mount Tai. Not only was I unable to welcome you from afar, I have several times displayed such misconduct. I hope young Yun can forgive my sins. Feng Huida was a little incoherent with his words due to fear. Before he had even finished speaking, the back of his head was already drenched in cold sweat. His gaze shifted away, and with a blaming tone he said, Hanyi, young Yun is an esteemed guest of heavenly capacity. How can you not inform us of this matter at all? If he had known that the Realm King's direct disciple would visit, not only would he have personally welcomed him, welcoming him from 10,000 kilometers out was the least he would do. Mu Hanyi smiled and said, Royal Father, it is not this son that's unsensible. Though senior brother Yuanqi has an esteemed status, he is modest and kind, and he has never bullied others with his status. In fact, he has always thought of others. He was afraid informing you prematurely would overwhelm and influence Royal Father's birthday celebration, so did not want me to inform you beforehand. Senior brother's order is something this son can't disobey. However, due to excitement, I was unable to inform Royal Father quickly about senior brother Yuanqi's status. This is indeed my mistake, and I am willing to be punished by Royal Father. Yuanqi courteously said, Ice Wind Emperor, there's no need for such formalities. This junior is here to congratulate you in my master's name. Behaving in such a manner would instead make this junior uncomfortable. Though Yuanqi was simply doing a junior's courtesy bow, it had stunned Feng Huida to take a step back as he returned the bow in a fluster. Why, young Yun, how can that be? It was this little king who did not provide a good reception. Come quickly, please take the high seats, take the high seats. Feng Huida's head was still sweating. His voice and body were still trembling as before. It was not because his mental fortitude was weak. Rather, the person in front of him was the direct disciple of the Realm King. The lord of a country was indeed a respectable status, but compared to the direct disciple of the Realm King, that was simply an existence of another plane. In front of the direct disciple, he could merely be addressed as a little country lord. Forget about the first 1,000 years. Even the celebration of his first 10,000 years was not an event someone would dare think of having a person of such status to attend. If a hall master were to visit, it could already be considered to be a heavenly gift. Agitation, shock, and fear were but a small part of what he was feeling, as he was mostly overwhelmed by a sense of loss and utter disbelief. Feng Huida was not the only one who was shocked and at a loss. Crown Prince Feng Hange looked as if he had been petrified as he stood there, not daring to move nor speak. The guests in the great hall had all long since stood up. Their eyes towards Yuanqi all carried deep fear and respect. The news of the Snow Song Realm king taking in a new direct disciple had long spread throughout the entire Snow Song Realm. They did not know his name, but they were aware that he came from the lower realm and that though his profound strength was merely at the entrance of the divine way, he possessed talent that could be said to be unprecedented. He completely defeated Mu Hanyi and Mu Feixu in the test, and his future was limitless. However, never ever did they expect, nor did they dare to believe, that he would actually attend an emperor's birthday feast. Furthermore, he was even standing before their eyes. The sacred amethyst crown prince had also stood up as well, but his face no longer even carried the slightest bit of his delighted smile from before. His face with handsome features had turned deathly pale, and under immense fear he had completely lost the might and demeanor of a crown prince. Every single hair of his body was covered in a bone-piercing chill. No one could possibly forget the arrogant, ridiculing remarks he made right in front of Yuanqi earlier. He's, actually, the direct disciple of the realm king from the rumors. Madame Sidhu's mouth was agape, and she finally managed to close it after a long while. We actually made him walk behind us earlier. That's truly an immense misconduct. Xuanyin, what's wrong? Sidhu Xiangyi's body was straight and stiffened, yet his face was as pale as paper. The pupils in his eyes enlarged and then contracted the next moment. His entire body trembled like a sieve, and the wine cup his hand had unconsciously held tightly onto had long drenched his body with wine from the trembling, but he had yet to realize this matter. Xuanyin's condition was a huge fright to Madame Sidhu and Mu Xiaolan. Mu Xiaolan hastily asked in a soft voice, "Father, what's wrong? Are you feeling unwell?" Sidhu Xuanyin's lips opened and closed several times, but he was unable to speak a single word. It was only after his throat violently hacked for a moment with a gulp that he regained a little of his breath. However, his face remained deathly pale. It's nothing, he is really." In all her life, this was the first time she had seen such an exaggerated reaction from her father. Mu Xiaolan burst out into giggles. So even father is so afraid of his identity. It's actually all right, even though Yuanqi is the sect master's direct disciple. He's just how senior brother Hanyi described. He will never rely on his identity to bully others. Just like how he still calls me senior sister even after becoming the sect master's direct disciple, and does not have the arrogant mannerisms of someone who places himself above everyone else. I used to feel that there were so many loathsome points about him, but now I feel that he has many favorable qualities. Oh, that's right, father, back then on the profound arc, what did you say when you pulled him over? It shouldn't be anything rude, right? Mu Xiaolan asked. It would have been better if Mu Xiaolan had not mentioned this. Once he recalled how he had coldly threatened and showed his contempt for Yuanqi previously, Sidhu Xianyin's body shook as he fell to the ground on his butt, causing the chair to break in the process. No one doubted Yuanqi's identity. In the Snow Song realm, besides those that were tired of living, no one would dare to masquerade as the realm king's direct disciple. Moreover, the one who had revealed his identity was Mu Hanyi. Under the shock and tremendous intimidation brought by the realm king's direct disciple, the hall was so silent that even the drop of a pin could be heard. Nobody dared to even breathe too loudly. Feng Huida and Feng Han stood on both sides with their bodies bowed. They did not dare to move before Yuanqi was seated. Yuanqi did not walk forward, but instead took out a flawless snow-white jade case. He opened it in front of everyone, and a 9-leaved grass, surrounded by a hazy, icy blue brilliance, appeared. In an instant, an utmost pure chill filled the entire hall, causing everyone's minds to clear as their gazes were firmly drawn to it, unable to detach themselves. Ice Wind Emperor, this grass is known as the 9-leaf frost glaze, and is one of the unique grasses found in the heavenly Netherfrost Lake. It can temper one's body and clear one's heart. I hope that you will accept this humble gift of mine for your 1,000-year birthday. Although his target was the Qilin horn, since he had come to give his birthday wishes, it was only natural that he did not arrive empty-handed. This 9-leaf frost glaze was a congratulatory gift that he had come up with at the last moment while on the way here. It was indeed one of the unique grasses that grew in the heavenly Netherfrost Lake, and should be a fine gift for the ruler of a country. Mu Xuanyin had confined him in the heavenly Netherfrost Lake over this period of time. Hence, he had certainly collected as many of the unique flowers and grasses within as possible. However, he had still far underestimated the weight the 3 words, Heavenly Netherfrost Lake, had in the snow song realm. Upon hearing that it grew in the heavenly Netherfrost Lake, everyone in the hall, including Mu Hanyi and Mu Xiaolan, had their mouths wide open and their eyeballs almost popping from their sockets. Feng Huida slowly extended both of his hands but did not dare to move forward for a long time. His voice trembled as he spoke. Such a sacred item, how can this little king possibly accept such a thing? Since it is a fine gesture from senior brother Yunqi, royal father should accept it, Mu Hanyi said with a smile. Only then did Feng Huida reach out with his hand and receive the 9-leaf frost glaze. His movements were extremely careful as he cupped it to his bosom, his voice still trembling as he said, "This little king never imagined that he would actually obtain a sacred item from the heavenly Netherfrost Lake in this lifetime. With regards to the great kindness of the great realm king and her honored disciple, this little king truly does not know how he can repay such a gesture." Anything that originated from the heavenly Netherfrost Lake, even a grain of sand, could be said to be a sacred item in the people's eyes. Xuanyin, even in his emotional state, Feng Huida spoke in a solemn manner. "Since you have visited Ice Wind this time, you must stay for a few more days and give this little king a chance to express his gratitude. Oh, if Xuanyin has any requests or instructions from now on, feel free to tell this little king. This little king will do everything in his power comply, and even 10,000 deaths will not be able to stop me." This was flattery and fawning from the emperor of a country. However, Yun Qi's response exceeded everyone's expectations. With calmness that did not belong to someone of his age, he casually waved his hand. "Ice Wind Emperor, your words are too heavy. This junior has come to pay his respects on Master's behalf and is only an ordinary guest." In the hall, flattery was given from far away. Xuanyin does not only possess venerable status and talent unmatched since the dawn of time, but is also so modest and courteous. Truly admirable. After this first piece of flattery was given, the people in the hall immediately regained their senses as if they had been awoken from sleep. As such, even more flattery began to be sent in waves. This is the first time I have seen such an outstanding individual. Xuanyin is after all the chosen disciple of our great realm king. How can he not be a man amongst men? Choosing such a successor is not only the good fortune of our great realm king, but also the good fortune of our snow song realm. The sacred amethyst crown prince's expression remained stiff for a long time before it finally eased a little. He took a few steps forward as he bowed and said, have been blessed to personally witness Brother Yun's elegance. This little prince's trip to Ice Wind this time has not been in vain, no. Not this trip, but this prince's entire life. This prince also wants to congratulate the Ice Wind Emperor for receiving such generosity from Great Realm King and Brother Yun." When facing Feng Huida once again, the sacred amethyst crown prince's attitude was completely different than before. He was no longer the least bit excited or arrogant. Every word he spoke contained deep anxiety. "Ha ha ha ha," Feng Huida heartily laughed. After the initial fright, the next thing to rise to the highest point was naturally his spirits. The Realm King's direct disciple had personally come to his birthday celebration, and it was even under the Realm King's personal orders. This was something that had absolutely never happened in all of the Snow Song countries, let alone the fact that he had received a valuable gift that came from the heavenly Netherfrost Lake. The glory he felt at this moment was 100 times greater than when he first ascended the throne back then. "Xuanyin, quickly come and be seated. My esteemed guests, today has been the best surprise we have ever been given. We will have no regrets even if our life ends today. Everyone, come drink with us under the honor and glory personally gifted upon Xuanyin and the Realm King. No one shall leave until they are drunk." Ha 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 ha. In his spirited state, Feng Huida did not forget an important matter. He was practically shouting as he sent a concentrated sound transmission. Quickly prepare the Ice Maiden Palace anew. Take out the ice lamps, frost spirit rugs, my hidden stash of 10,000-year spirit liquor and those rare fruits. Get Palace Master Feng Zhu to go to the city to select 10. No, select 21st-class virgins, make haste. If all of this not prepared in 6 hours, we will personally behead all of you. Wait. Ensure that Hanjin is dolled up and ready to serve in the Ice Maiden Palace. Feng Huida had clearly lost the majesty of an emperor as he loudly shouted while everyone quickly responded. Thus started the birthday of the Ice Wind Emperor in a way that no one would have ever expected. Only after the sky darkened was it finally over. The lead actor of the emperor's birthday had unquestionably changed from Feng Huida to Yun Qi. When they saw how unpretentious Yun Qi was, those of the Snow Song realm with extremely high status and positions swiftly swarmed forward in succession. The praise, flattery, bootlicking, and gasps of admiration never stopped. The treatment Yun Qi received after his identity was known had changed completely, thoroughly revealing what was known as human nature. This fact was unrelated to whether one was in the profound sky continent or the god realm. It remained unchanged no matter where one went. Night descended. Mu Hanyi stood alone under an ice tree. His expression was serene as he quietly played with the ice flower in his hand. His gaze calmly looked to the front while the light in his eyes remained focused, as if he was thinking extremely hard about something. 13th brother, why are you here? A luxuriously dressed figure swiftly arrived at his side. It was the Ice Wind Crown Prince Feng Hanj. He spoke with a blaming tone. Didn't Royal Father ask you to accompany Yun Qi? When I saw that you were not around just now, I was under the impression that Royal Father and you had gone to send off the guests. What are you daydreaming about here alone? It will be a disaster if we do not properly entertain Yun Qi. Ding! The ice flower in Mu Hanyi's hand was crushed, turning into ice dust as he clenched his hand. He gently smiled and said, Worry not, royal brother, he does not need my company. Likewise, there is something that I am extremely puzzled by. Since you are here, you may perhaps be able to dispel my doubts. What is it? Feng Hanj frowned. Mu Hanyi turned around. Under the darkening sky, his eyes had a gloomy feeling that made one's heart palpitate. Why do you think Sect Master allowed Yun Qi to participate in Royal Father's birthday? Feng Hanj was a little taken aback. Soon after, he replied, This favor is indeed a little too big, and Royal Father was completely caught off guard. However, my guess is that because 13th brother had always been seen as the person who was most likely to become the Realm King's direct personal disciple for the last several years, but the Realm King still chose someone else even in the face of this. She perhaps felt that this would surely affect the Ice Wind's prestige and has disappointed our Ice Wind Emperor. Thus she commanded Yun Qi to come as a form of compensation and to somewhat restore our Ice Wind Empire's prestige. Ha 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 ha! Mu Hanyi laughed loudly. Royal brother, do you really believe the words that you have just said? Mu Hanj. If it was another sect or another country for such a situation, a similar method would indeed be used to console the hearts of the people. But who do you think the sect master is? In her eyes, our enormous Ice Wind Empire is merely a country of ants. She would not even feel the tiniest bit of guilt if she casually wiped out our entire country. No one has the right to make her compensate for anything. In the 10,000 years that the sect master has remained in her position, countless old countries have fallen, empires changed, and new emperors ascended the throne. Yet she has never cared for any of this, and they are also not worthy of her attention. However, she sent her recently recruited direct disciple to Royal Father's meager 1000th year celebration. No matter how I think about it, this is not normal at all. At the very least, it is impossible for Yun Qi to have come solely for offering birthday congratulations. Mu Hanyi's words caused Feng Hanj to be stunned for a while. Soon after, he shook his head and said, Although your words make sense, these are merely wild guesses. Who do you think the great Realm King is? Her thoughts are not for the likes of us to guess. Moreover, you said earlier that our Ice Wind Empire is merely a land of ants in the Realm King's eyes. What can there be in a land of ants that can catch the Realm King's eyes? Do not let your imagination run wild. Properly entertain our valued guest. No matter what intentions he has, Yun Qi's arrival can only bring endless benefits to our Ice Wind Empire, and we cannot be the slightest bit negligent in receiving him. Something that can catch her eye. These words made Mu Hanyi frown as his eyes slowly narrowed, becoming incomparably deep. What did you say? Mu Hanj was not able to clearly catch his mumbling. Nothing. Mu Hanyi lifted his head. Becoming the sect master's direct disciple is truly wonderful. All must obediently bend their heads whether they are royalty or an overlord. Even Royal Father cannot help but fawn over him. Naturally. Feng Hange continued, "Who would dare to provoke the Realm King's direct disciple? Who would dare to be disrespectful to him? 13th brother, why do you suddenly have such sorrows?" "I am only somewhat unresigned." Mu Hanyi softly sighed. "Royal brother might not know this, but victory was already in my grasp in the previous direct disciple competition. However, in the end, it was those short few seconds, or else all of this would have been mine." The Mu Hanyi who had calmly accepted, Xianxia gnashed his teeth at this moment as the fingers of his tightly clenched fists turned white. Feng Hange walked forward and reached out his hand to pat Mu Hanyi's shoulder. "Royal father and I were also extremely frustrated and depressed when we knew that you were unable to become the direct disciple. Royal father and I best understand your efforts and hopes over the years, and we know that it was not easy for you. However, this is fate, and we can only accept it. The great Realm King's direct disciple selection has always been incomparably harsh. Since she chose Xianxia, there must be something about him that surpasses everyone else, so don't dwell too much on this. I cannot deny that he does have his extraordinary points. He was in the limelight in the great sect assembly half a month ago while I was reduced to a laughable stumbling rock." Mu Hanyi deeply breathed in before he looked to the sky. His voice suddenly relaxed. "Royal brother, if Xianxia suddenly disappears from this world, will the things that belong to me return?" These incomparably slow words instantly frightened Feng Hange until his face turned ashen. What are you saying?" He looked about in panic, and only after he made certain that no one was nearby did he tightly grab Mu Hanyi's arm and say in alarm, "Are you crazy? Do you really plan on—" "Heh." Mu Hanyi merely softly chuckled. "No need to be so tense, royal brother. I merely spoke without thinking." "Spoke without thinking?" Feng Hange's eyes were wide open while cold sweat emerged all over his body. He clenched his teeth and said, "Are these words that can be spoken so casually? The great Realm King's abilities are exceptional. Of course I know." Mu Hanyi unhurriedly pulled off Feng Hange's arms from his body while he smiled in an incomparably ordinary manner. "Even if I had courage that was as enormous as the heavens, I would not possibly dare to think about the disgraceful thing that royal brother is imagining in his heart. What's more, Xianxia is currently in our Ice-Wind Empire. If anyone dares to harm him, even if I have such thoughts, I can only desperately protect him with my life. Or else, if something bad happens under the rage of the sect master, not only you, me, and royal father, even our entire Ice-Wind will be done for." Feng Hange firmly stared at Mu Hanyi. It was a long while later before his throbbing heart and breathing finally returned to normal. He said in a serious voice, "I know that you do not have such courage, but you must surely have had such thoughts. After today, you cannot ever have such thoughts again. No matter how unwilling, you must be as respectful and obedient as royal father to Xianxia. Is this clear?" "I know. Royal father is the one who understands me the most in this world. You must know that I am not someone who would do such things. Don't worry." Mu Hanyi's expression was calm as he replied. Feng Hange nodded his head. Only then did he truly put down his anxiety. "Just take it that I never said those words. I am going to accompany Xianxia. You stay here and first clear your mind before joining us later." Feng Hange used profound energy to remove all the cold sweat on his body. With a sigh of relief, he quickly left. His footsteps swiftly disappeared into the distance. Only then did Mu Hanyi turn around and watch as Mu Hange's figure disappeared from his sight. His eyes slightly narrowed as the light in his eyes became increasingly dark and sinister, while ice-cold mockery emerged from his mouth. "This is why you will always be trash that will never accomplish great things." After the banquet, Xianxia took advantage of Feng Huida, sending guests away to find a moment to slip away to the back of the palace. There, he casually strolled for a while, before he finally stopped in front of a pond, which strangely had not frozen over. As Xianxia observed the green leaves floating on the water, he sighed. His ears were still buzzing even now as a result of the several raucous days, but he still didn't have even the slightest clue as to how he could obtain the Ice Killin's horn. "It's much more difficult than expected," Xianxia dispiritedly thought to himself for Mu Xuanyin. It was only a matter of speaking, but for Xianxia, he had no clue how he should make his request. After all, he had no enmity with the Ice-Wind Emperor. Moreover, the Ice-Wind Emperor had treated him with great respect, and even stated that he was willing to die 10,000 times for him. How could he directly open his mouth and ask for the Killin horn after all, in the Ice-Wind Emperor's heart? That holidom was the embodiment of his country's fortune. It truly seemed that within the Snow Song realm, no one could make such a request outside of Mu Xuanyin. But if he didn't just go and make his request, how else could he achieve his goal? Would he actually have to go steal it? But since it was a holidom, it had to be hidden in a secret place and heavily guarded. Even if he confirmed its existence, just how was he going to be able to steal it? Mu Xuanyin had specifically emphasized the point that he should be doing this alone. Yet with his current profound strength, any of the higher-level guards of the palace could kill him. Moreover, Mu Xiaolan, who had ended up coming along, was weaker than him, yet another factor which held him back. Xianxia, so this is where you ran off to? While Xianxia dispiritedly thought to himself, Mu Xiaolan's gentle footsteps approached him as she cutely skipped over to in front of Qin Lai. She joyfully smiled as she asked, "Hee, did you feel powerful and great today?" Xianxia just sighed. He had no reply. How come you seem to be unhappy?" Mu Xiaolan asked as she stretched her head out and observed Xianxia's completely expressionless face. "What is there to be happy about?" Xianxia pursed his lips. All of those people praised you and fawned over you. They were all competing with each other to offer you drinks. Even senior brother Hanyi's royal father, the emperor, had to bend his back while talking to you. I don't believe that you do not feel the slightest bit of pride in your heart." Mu Xiaolan comforted as her cheeks puffed up. Xianxia sighed again as he said, "Do you think that the person they truly respect and fear is me?" Mu Xiaolan became dazed. "No," Xianxia shook his head. "The person they truly respect and fear is my master. Before my status as direct disciple was revealed, not a single person in the Great Hall cared to even look at me. In fact, the Ice Wind Emperor didn't even remember my name, which I had just given him. It wasn't just them either on the profound arc. Your father ridiculed my birth and status without a second thought and sternly told me to stay away from you." Mu Xiaolan became extremely surprised, her little face become pale as she stuttered. "Father, It's all right, you don't need to be nervous. After all, I never said I blame your father for his actions." Xianxia reached out his hand and gently patted Mu Xiaolan's head. "When you return to your mother and father's place later, you must remember to tell your father that there is no need to be stuck over that matter, and that there is no need for him to personally approach me just to apologize, as I do not care at all. Keep him from being unable to sleep at night." Mu Xiaolan's hand hit her forehead as she finally understood why her father had been so soulless and silent today. She anxiously asked, "Father, you truly don't blame him, right?" "What is there to blame him for?" Xianxia shrugged his shoulders. "Isn't this normal? With my profound strength and background, any powerful figure would treat me this way. Moreover, the only reason his attitude changed was because of my status as Sect Master's direct disciple. For Master, even if she wasn't the Snow Song Realm King and Ice Phoenix Sect Master, the people of the Snow Song Realm would still naturally respect and fear her. As for me, I'm afraid that if I didn't have the status which has been bestowed on me by Master, the people here today wouldn't even look at me, let alone praise and respect me. Thus, there is nothing for me to be happy about. Instead, today has allowed me to further understand that power is the only thing which is respected in the world." Mu Xiaolan blankly stood there for a while, and then shook her head as she refuted. "What you are saying is not completely correct. Although your current profound strength is not too special, your innate talent with ice is really high, and you are the direct disciple of a great realm king. In the near future, you will definitely be able to become a figure whose strength is far greater than everyone else. There is no doubt that this will happen. That's why they are all currently treating you so well right now." "Forget it," Xianxia indifferently stated. "Anyway, in another 2 to 3 years, in at most 3 years, I will be leaving this place. In my blue pole star, I am basically a great realm king, and I can impose myself however I want." Mu Xiaolan rolled her eyes as she quietly said to herself in a voice which only she could hear, "You are already Sect Master's direct disciple. It would be strange if she let you go home." Nonetheless, for her father to have said such things to Xianxia on the profound ATK, it was too embarrassing. What to do? "You truly don't blame my father?" Mu Xiaolan anxiously asked again as she hung her head down. Her voice was very quiet and contained traces of guilt and nervousness. "If it were someone else with my original temper, then they would long be, cough, cough, cough. But since it is the father of senior sister Xiaolan, I naturally will not blame him at all." Xianxia's expression was extremely sincere as he continued, "Moreover, I know your father is not a bad person. The reason he reprimanded me was because he truly cares for you." Xianxia turned his gaze as he looked at Mu Xiaolan's bright, smooth, and slightly blushing face from the side. "It's very clear that your father's character is extremely direct and straightforward. He's not kind, but he's also not someone who hides himself. Right from when he met me, he directly expressed his disdain for me. Although at the time he seemed extremely fierce, he was not terrifying at all. Senior sister Xiaolan, do you know who the most terrifying kind of people in the world are? Ah! Mu Xiaolan's mouth opened and closed, but she didn't respond. The most terrifying kind of people in the world are those who never show others their true emotions. The most terrifying are those who are always pleasant and calm regardless of if they are facing a weak, ant-like cultivator or someone they hate. As he spoke, a serious look appeared on Xianxia's face and in his eyes. A look of confusion emerged on Mu Xiaolan's face, as if she couldn't understand why Xianxia had suddenly said such words. This kind of person, they patiently bear everything and shrewdly make plans. Their minds are truly extremely terrifying, and it's not terrifying in the normal sense. At the very least, I am completely unable to fully contain myself perfectly in the face of someone who I greatly resent. Naturally, I am even less able to talk cheerfully and humorously in such circumstances. These people normally don't hurt others and are generally admired, praised, revered, and adored by others like a saint. However, once they make a decision to kill someone, they will be extremely careful and thorough. They will make a single death blow with absolute certainty and not leave any traces behind. They are like a dormant snake, which suddenly shoots venom at the darkest moment of the night for the kill. Just thinking about it gives me the chills. Xianxia then put his hands on his neck behind his head as he silently looked up at the night sky. Mu Xiaolan's eyes continued to express confusion as she asked, Xianxia, what are you saying? I don't seem to understand. Do you not understand, or do you not dare to trust your understanding? Xianxia glanced at her from the side and then calmly said, Do not doubt yourself. It is exactly the person whose image has emerged in your mind. Forget about it. I predict there is no way for you to accept it. All you have to do is listen a little deeper and keep an eye out for me. Mu Xiaolan. At this time, the sound of hurried footsteps resonated over from behind thee as Feng Hange arrived with a group of guards. Upon seeing Xianxia, his eyes brightened as his footsteps sped up even more. So you were here, Brother Yun. Because of personal matters, Hanyi left and has neglected looking after Brother Yun. I hope you are willing to forgive us over this matter. Xianxia turned around and chuckled as he said, There is no need for your highness to be so polite. Ice Wind Imperial Palace is truly quite beautiful at night and extremely pleasant to look at. I couldn't help but subconsciously walk over here. Seeing how not a trace of dissatisfaction was present on Xianxia's face, Feng Han relaxed slightly as he straightened himself and said, We are fortunate and honored to be able to gain Brother Yun's praise and appreciation of the beautiful scenery here. Ah, that's right, a palace has been prepared. Considering how Brother Yun has come here through all of the wind and snow, I presume Brother Yun is somewhat tired. Would you like for me to show you to your quarters? Xianxia thought for a moment, then nodded. All right then. Please. Ah, Sister Sidhu, your palace quarters have also been prepared. It is quite close to Brother Yun's. Let's go and see them together. Ah, okay. Mu Xiaolan was a little dazed. It was clear that she was still thinking about what Xianxia had just said. Under the personal guidance of Feng Hange, Xianxia and Mu Xiaolan arrived in front of Ice Maiden Palace, which had been meticulously crafted during the day. Flowers of ice swayed as ice spirits slowly danced around, and various colored coral illuminated the insides with a brilliant, resplendent glow. Even the carpet spread outside of the room was woven from the best quality ice threads. In front of Ice Maiden Palace, 20 or so young girls wearing snow-white clothes stood waiting. All of them seemed to be younger than 20. They were all as beautiful as flowers and moons, and an extraordinarily extravagant scent emanated from their bodies. Upon seeing Xianxia arrive, they all slowly walked forward and greeted him as they all said, We pay our respects to Sir Yun. Mu Xiaolan gaped. Brother Yun, this here is our Ice Maiden Palace. It is the palace my Ice Wind Empire uses to entertain and treat our most important guests. Within 1,000 steps in all directions, there are hundreds of the most talented guards defending, so you will not have to worry for your safety at all. Feng Han then lowered his voice as he continued. These 20 girls were all specially and carefully selected for you from the imperial city by people my royal father personally commands. Although they absolutely cannot be compared with Fairy Faksu, they were all born into large, rich families and are all still virgins. Brother Yun, please enjoy. Mu Xiaolan. Japanese letter, number O. Very good. Xianxia's eyes brightened as he happily nodded. Your Highness is really nice. Please thank your royal father for me. As long as Brother Yun is happy. Upon seeing Xianxia smile, Feng Hanji's heart relaxed. "Senior Sister Xiaolan, do you want to go in and take a look?" Xianxia asked as he smiled. This question clearly had an intent of driving someone away behind it. Mu Xiaolan became furious as she forcefully stomped on the ground and indignantly shouted, "How could I dare disturb the enjoyment of my sect's dignified direct disciple?" "HMPH?" Finished speaking, Mu Xiaolan turned around and began walking away. Xianxia slowly nodded. "So it's like this. Then all right, I shall trouble your highness to send senior sister Mu Xiaolan home." "Ah, all right. If Brother Yun has any other instructions, please do let me know. There is absolutely no need to be courteous." "You'd better not let senior sister Feixu know about this," Mu Xiaolan shouted in anger as she suddenly turned around after walking far into the distance. Then this little prince shall withdraw." Feng Hanj awkwardly saluted as he hurriedly backed out. "Ah, women are truly troublesome." Xianxia sighed as he raised his head and looked at the night sky, which was far darker than the one above the Ice Phoenix realm. He whispered to himself, "I keep feeling like something big is going to happen tonight." Palace was decorated in a beautiful and imposing fashion. It was evident that the best of efforts had been put into making it appear extravagant. Even Feng Huita's imperial chamber might not seem so exaggeratedly decorated. Ruling such a vast nation still pales in comparison to having a good master. Xianxia sighed with emotion. There were 20 women behind him with their heads lowered, nervously waiting upon him. Seeing him coming before a low bed, they thought that he was intending to sleep a bit earlier than expected. The woman leading the others secretly bit on her lip before taking a step forward and saying in a low voice, "Sir Yun, do you want to rest now?" Xianxia made a sound in response. Then he casually turned around to look at the woman who had spoken the words. The woman had caught his attention from the very beginning due to her attire being different from other 19 women. She was clad in a snow-white dress with the hem dragging on the ground. It was simple yet elegant, exuding a sense of luxuriousness that would make people turn their eyes to her. "What's your name?" Xianxia asked abruptly as he looked at her. "This Prin Ah." Immediately she jumped in fright at the way she referred to her. She lowered her head in a flurry and said nervously, This servant goes by the name of Hanjin. Sir Yun can order about this dinner as he wishes." "This Prin, Hanjin, you're a princess of the Ice Wind Empire?" Xianxia sized her up. No wonder the temperament of this woman was so extraordinary. Feng Huita actually sent his own daughter to him. Very good, it's so thoughtful of him. "Yes." Feng Hanjin further lowered her head. She was the Ice Wind Empire's youngest princess, and she had just turned 15 this year. She came here following Feng Huita's order to personally wait upon the honored guest. He had also told her that if the other party took a fancy to her, it would be her good fortune of a lifetime, even if he took her in as a concubine or just a servant to warm his bed. "So it's true," Xianxia nodded slowly. "Your royal father made even a princess like you wait upon me, huh? I really don't know how I should express myself to his show of hospitality. Does he not care about causing grievance to you?" Feng Hanjin said in a low voice. "In royal father's words, it is Hanjin's good fortune to be able to serve Sir Yun." "Ha ha ha," Xianxia laughed aloud. "Your royal father is really too courteous. Looks like I'll have to properly say my thanks to him tomorrow. Speaking of which, on my way here, I heard that your Ice Wind Empire has a history of close to 100,000 years. That's truly admirable. It has been 87,622 years since the establishment of the Ice Wind Empire." Feng Hanjin's voice was very low, which sounded nervous and weak, but the figures she mentioned were incomparably precise. "In the history of the Snow Song realm, it should be considered very long regime, right?" Xianxia asked. "Reporting to Sir Yun," Feng Hanjin answered obediently. "Although the Ice Wind Empire isn't the strongest nation in the Snow Song realm, it has existed for the longest period of time. The history of the Snow Song realm has seen the rise and fall of countless dynasties, and it's only my Ice Wind Empire that has stood towering for at least 50,000 years. Moreover, we're already not far from accomplishing the feat of maintaining our regime for 50,000 years." "Oh," Xianxia looked surprised. Then he said in admiration, "In the world I come from, it was extremely rare for dynasties to be able to maintain their regimes for several thousand years. So it's really too astonishing to know that a dynasty could exist for over 80,000 years. It seems like the Ice Wind Empire is indeed a nation with an enormously great fortune. There must be some reason behind it having such a strong and prosperous destiny. As a princess of Ice Wind Empire, you should know what exactly it is, right?" For instance, connections with other nations or some holidom safeguarding the empire. I'd like to hear about it. Yuan-Chi appeared extremely curious. About that, Feng Hanjin said nervously, this servant usually stays in her chambers and has never been involved in national affairs. As such, it's impossible to give an answer to Sir Yun's question. This servant asks for Sir Yun's forgiveness. Oh, no problem, it was just a casual question. Yuan-Chi waved his hand. Then he sat on the low bed and stretched out his hand to feel its ice silk cover. What a comfortable bed. It seems I'll be able to have a good night's sleep. If Sir Yun is going to take a rest. Feng Hanjin's fingers were tightly entangled with each other, and her face was flushed deep red. She lowered her head, not daring to look at Yuan-Chi. Allow this servant to help you bathe. Oh, that's unnecessary. Yuan-Chi lay down. I don't have such a habit. Then allow this servant to help you take off your robe. That's also unnecessary. I never take off my clothes before going to bed. Yuan-Chi was lying with his face upward and eyes closed. He casually waved off his hand. There's nothing left here for you to do. All of you leave now. Feng Hanjin had a complicated expression. It was hard to tell whether she was disappointed or feeling relaxed at his attitude. She bent to Bo. Okay, this servant will be outside, waiting for Sir Yun's instructions at all times. Oh, wait a moment. Suddenly, Yuan-Chi got up from the bed. He took a glance outside through the window and muttered, this trip to the Ice Wind Empire is a rare opportunity, so it doesn't feel right to go to bed so early. Princess Hanjin, could you call over your royal brother Hanyi? Have him take me on a tour around the imperial palace. Understood, this servant will pass on your words right away. Feng Hanjin came out of the Ice Maiden Palace. Just as she was about to transmit her voice to Mu Hanyi, she found him unexpectedly coming right in her direction. She promptly went over to him. 13th brother. Hanjin? Mu Hanyi was a bit surprised. Shouldn't you be serving senior brother Yuan-Chi, as per the order of royal father? What are you doing outside? Is senior brother Yun not present in the Ice Maiden Palace? Sir Yun is in the Ice Maiden Palace at the moment, but he wanted me to call 13th brother over here. He was hoping to have 13th brother take him on a tour around the Imperial Palace, Feng Hanjin replied. Oh, so that's how it is. Mu Hanyi nodded lightly. Then let's quickly go over to him. Hanjin, what do you think about Yuan-Chi? He asked unconcernedly. Feng Hanjin thought for a bit before she said in a light voice. Actually, we didn't talk that much, but I feel that he is a very gentle person. Despite having such an honorable identity, he isn't overbearing in the least. Haha, that's natural. If there was some problem with his behavior, there's no way Sect Master would have chosen him as her direct disciple. Mu Hanyi smiled and continued in a very natural manner. Since you've already exchanged words with him, did he ask you about anything? Then he spoke again to supplement his words. If he asks for anything, make sure to satisfy him no matter what. He didn't ask for anything either. He casually talked a little about the history of our Ice Wind Empire and asked a question regarding the destiny of a nation. Feng Hanjin replied truthfully. Even though she had the noble status of a princess, she had been brought up strictly in the imperial family and was used to behave obediently. Destiny of nation, Mu Hanyi's eyebrows shot up. Feng Hanjin turned her gaze to him upon listening to the abrupt change in his tone. 13th brother, is something wrong? Oh, Mu Hanyi smiled. I truly didn't think that even senior brother Yuan-Chi would believe in such an imaginary thing, so I was really taken aback, haha. He came with Feng Hanjin to the Ice Maiden Palace. He apologized immediately as soon as he caught sight of Yuan-Chi. Senior brother Yuan-Chi. It is Hanyi's return to this place after a period of several years, so there were a lot of trivial matters that I had to deal with. Hanyi is so utterly ashamed to be absent from your side for such a long time. I've said it many times before that junior brother Hanyi doesn't need to be so polite. Yuan-Chi smiled unconcernedly. Earlier, when I nonchalantly took a walk outside for a short while, I was seriously awed by the unimaginable beauty of Ice Wind Imperial Palace. It can't be mentioned in the same breath as the imperial palaces in our lower realms. So when I thought of it a while ago, I was unable to contain my desire to continue the sightseeing. Could I trouble junior brother Hanyi to take me on a stroll around the palace? It's no trouble at all, but an extreme honor to me. Walking abreast, Yuan-Chi and Mu Hanyi left the Ice Maiden Palace. They both enjoyed the sights of Ice Wind Imperial Palace in the dark of the night as they strolled around. There was a plane of difference between the God realm and a lower realm. The grandeur of an imperial palace in the God realm was far greater than the Blue Wind Imperial Palace or Divine Phoenix Imperial Palace Yuan-Chi was familiar with. On the way, Xianxia listened to Mu Hanyi's detailed introduction to the many places of the imperial palace, and would also occasionally talk about some matters of Blue Pole Star. Their laughing sounds could be heard continuously, having extreme fun discussing various topics. Unknowingly, they had already gone through most of the imperial palace. It's nothing short of astonishing and admirable for the Ice-Wind Empire to exist for as long as over 80,000 years, being the empire with the longest regime in the history of the Snow Song realm. Xianxia sincerely sighed in admiration. It seems the huge Ice-Wind Empire is certainly favored by the heavens to have been blessed with a formidable destiny. Oh, Mu Hanyi smiled slightly. Senior brother Xianxia also believes in something like destiny. The issue with destiny is, whether it's the destiny of a person or a nation's, perhaps no one truly believe in it with all their heart, nor anyone finds it completely unbelievable. Similar to how there isn't a single person who has the ability to really clarify whether our fates are decided by the heavens or our own actions. Xianxia said in an unhurried manner. Ha ha ha! Mu Hanyi laughed for a while. He nodded in full consent. Senior brother Xianxia said it right. In Hanyi's opinion, a thing like destiny couldn't be completely trusted, and we can't totally ignore its effect in our life either. The main reasons behind my Ice-Wind Empire being able to remain standing firmly in this realm are: first of all, our ancestral emperors were accomplished in governing the empire in a rightful and lawful way. The first instruction for someone ascending on the throne of this empire is to be close to the masses and be popular amongst them. If the ruler isn't liked by the masses, then even a powerful and prosperous nation would crumble to extinction. The one to obtain people's love grasps the whole world isn't just an empty phrase. Our ancestral emperors have tried their best to obey the instruction, and as such, the virtuous cycle of the ruler caring for the masses and masses caring for the ruler in return came into existence. Therefore, it's no surprise that Ice-Wind maintained its stability all the while. Xianxia gave a deep glance at Mu Hanyi before saying, "Could it be there's still something else? That other thing?" A pretty mysterious, faint smile surfaced on Mu Hanyi's face. "Is possibly the one with a considerably great protecting effect on what senior brother Xianxia calls as the destiny of a nation." "Oh," surprise was written all over Xianxia's face. "Don't tell me there's a spirit vein underneath the imperial city." "That's not it." Mu Hanyi shook his head. "It's actually a heaven-bestowed holidom safeguarding the empire that my Ice-Wind Empire obtained in the early days of its establishment. This holidom has been with us for over 80,000 years. The Ice-Wind Empire is still present, and the holidom that has experienced a great number of things over a period of more than 80,000 years hasn't shown even the slightest change in its appearance. If such a thing as destiny exists in this world, then this holidom is the one protecting the destiny of my Ice-Wind Empire up to now. Holidom safeguarding the empire, your imperial family is in possession of such an extraordinary thing," Xianxia said in amazement. "What exactly is this holidom? It has to be quite a miraculous thing to be able to remain unchanged even after existing for 80,000 years. Mu Hanyi opened his mouth to speak, but didn't say a word for a brief moment. It was evident that he was hesitant to answer him. Shortly after, he regained his calm and said, "The existence of this holidom isn't a secret either, but common people only know that Ice-Wind Imperial family has a holidom, and practically everyone is unaware of its real identity. This is considered one of the greatest secret of my Ice-Wind Imperial family after all. However, it's completely fine to tell senior brother Xianxia about it. It's just that Hanyi asks for it be kept secret." "Of course," Xianxia nodded in agreement. "The holidom is in fact a Xiaolan horn," Mu Hanyi said with a solemn expression. "Our great ancestor found it coincidentally underneath the myriad Fearn. Back then, Xiaolans have already gone extinct for many years. So it was truly an inconceivable good luck and miracle for him to be able to find a Xiaolan horn, and an extremely intact one at that." "A Xiaolan horn?" Xianxia stopped in his tracks. A deep surprise could be seen in his face once again. "Isn't Xiaolan a legendary beast that is used as an auspicious sign? Are you telling me that it isn't just a made-up beast, but something that truly exists?" "Of course," Mu Hanyi nodded. "It has been quite long since Xiaolans have gone extinct in the eastern divine region, and in the lower realms it would have naturally happened at an even earlier time. Consequently, only several legends of them are left now that are hard to distinguish as true or false. It's no wonder that senior brother Xianxia would think of Xiaolan as a fabricated beast. But Xiaolans truly exist, and rumor has it that there's a family of Killins in the distant western divine region that has managed to survive to this day, because they obtained an ancient divine blood. Therefore, if fate allows it, senior brother Xianxia might be able to personally see a true Qilin someday. Xianxia remained in a daze for a good long while before he slowly nodded with a pretty surprised face. There is no shortage of extraordinary things under the vast heavens. I never expected the auspicious legendary beast to be a true entity. It seems I'm still quite ignorant and narrow-minded, having lived in the lower realm for over 20 years. By the way, where is this Qilin horn right now? I'd like to have a look at it myself. Xianxia's tone and expression revealed a deep curiosity and excitement. About that, Mu Hanyi seemed hesitant. An awkwardly troubled look could be seen on his face. Xianxia reacted at once upon seeing the other party's response. That was impudent of me. Since it's considered to be a holidom safeguarding the empire, there's no way it could be easily shown to others. Junior brother Hanyi, ignore what I just said. No, no. Mu Hanyi revealed a terrified expression at Xianxia's words. How could Hanyi dare to disobey an order from senior brother Xianxia? Besides, anyone would want to personally look at an extraordinary thing like a Qilin horn, as long as they heard of its existence. It is just that, because the Qilin horn is a holidom of our Ice-Wind Empire, Hanyi doesn't have the right to make a decision on matters related to it. Even Hanyi needs to take direct permission from Royal Father to be able to get a glimpse of the holidom. Otherwise, it's impossible to even get closer to it. Having finished his words, he took out a sound transmission jade. But he didn't utter a word for long, as his expression changed continuously. It was only after some time passed that he sighed indistinctly and put away the sound transmission jade. Junior brother Hanyi, are you afraid of your royal father's refusal? Xianxia asked, observing his look. Mu Hanyi was startled when he heard him. Then he smiled wryly. Senior brother Xianxia does indeed possess a great sense of discernment. At the birthday feast today, Royal Father said in presence of everyone that any request from senior brother Xianxia would be certainly fulfilled at all costs. Hanyi believes that Royal Father said it from the bottom of his heart. However, although Hanyi doesn't completely believe something like the destiny of a nation, Royal Father has an extremely deep faith in it. Therefore, anything involving the holidom is a great taboo to Royal Father. As such, Hanyi is worried about the possibility of Royal Father tactfully turning down senior brother Xianxia's request, or harboring grudge after giving his consent. It would be too awful if Royal Father and senior brother Xianxia ended up feeling displeased with each other due to such a thing. After explaining himself, Mu Hanyi shook his head heavily. Xianxia appeared calm, with no signs of displeasure. I'm thankful to junior brother Hanyi for being so honest with me. It's only natural for something possibly related with the destiny of a nation to be taken care of with utmost severity. It would be nothing but reasonable if your royal father refuses my request. It's all right, let's drop the matter now. No, but Mu Hanyi faintly smiled at this time. Senior brother Xianxia is misunderstanding me. Hanyi has decided not to report this matter to Royal Father, but that doesn't mean Hanyi won't take you over to have a look at the Qilin horn. Oh. A look of surprise was visible in Xianxia's eyes. Do you see that, senior brother Xianxia? Mu Hanyi turned round and pointed at the ice-covered mountain forest in the north of the Imperial Palace. It's brightly lit all around the Imperial Palace, except for that one side where it remains dusky. That's because it's the largest forbidden area in the entire Imperial City. Underneath that area lies the Treasury, the most important place of our Ice-Wind Imperial family. The holidom, the Qilin horn, is rightly kept in there. Oh, Xianxia nodded, showing his understanding. Obviously, the place is also guarded in the most strict manner. There's a large number of experts stationed outside the treasury day and night. No one could even get closer to it. In addition, the treasury is also full of various mechanisms and profound formations. Even if an expert in the divine king realm were to come, it would be almost impossible to forcibly storm in there. Of course, all of it would be simply decoration if it were a peerless expert, like the sect master and palace master Bingyun. However, Mu Hanyi stretched out his hands to partially cover his face, and said a bit embarrassedly, Hanyi is a prince of the Ice-Wind Imperial family, after all, and is considerably doted on by Royal Father. So Hanyi in fact knows about a secret path, only known to Royal Father and the Crown Prince, which makes it possible to bypass the perception zone of the guards and directly enter inside the treasury. Moreover, Hanyi is quite familiar with the mechanisms and profound formations in there, so it's definitely possible to deal with them easily, without having to face any risk. Though I feel somewhat sorry to Royal Father, but as it's the only option left not to let Royal Father feel any sort of unnecessary grudge, as well as fulfill Senior Brother Xianxi's wish, it could be considered an option that can satisfy both sides. It's just that I feel bad to have Senior Brother Xianxi go out of his way and walk along such a secret path. What opinion do you have, Senior Brother Xianxi? I'm naturally fine with it. It's a matter of great fortune to be able to see the legendary thing with my own eyes, but I think I'd be making things too difficult for you in the process. Xianxi said with a slight hesitation. It's no problem at all. Mu Hanyi smiled faintly. Senior Brother Xianxi has brought utmost glory to our Ice-Wind Empire by taking the trouble to come here. Just one thing has been asked by Senior Brother Xianxi after coming here. If Mu Hanyi couldn't help even with this, how would it be possible for me to return back to sect together with Senior Brother Xianxi? So, I'd ask Senior Brother Xianxi to return to the Ice Maiden Palace for now. Xianxi said in confusion. Why? We can't go over right away. Mu Hanyi shook his head as he said with a slightly bitter smile. Despite the fact that there's no one in the Snow Song realm who would dare to bring any harm to Senior Brother Xianxi, it's not possible for Royal Father to outright ignore your protection. Senior Brother Xianxi might not have sensed it, but a good number of experts of the palace who are guarding you from the shadows at all times 1,000 steps away. If they were come any closer, they might be able to even clearly hear our conversation. Besides, it's still early at present. Royal Father must be still awake, and there's the possibility of him going to the Ice Maiden Palace to greet Senior Brother Xianxi. If it was discovered that Senior Brother Xianxi is absent, he would surely feel deeply concerned and send people to look around. If by any chance our plan were to be found out, we would be in an even worse situation. I see. Xianxi nodded in realization, as expected of Junior Brother Hanyi to have thought it through. Speaking of which, although I'd be sneaking through the Imperial Palace with Junior Brother Hanyi, not only does it not feel wrong to me, it's also making me look forward to it a lot, ha-ha-ha. Ha-ha-ha-ha. Mu Hanyi also laughed aloud. It's an inherent nature of humans to seek stimulation. How can doing a thing following the norms be compared to the stimulation of doing the same sneakily? Tonight, Hanyi will take Senior Brother Xianxi on a fun tour. Well then, I'll return to the Ice Maiden Palace. 4 hours later, I'll shake off the guards and come here again. His excitement could be made out amidst his expectant look. All right, I believe that Senior Brother Xianxi would feel that the journey has been worthwhile upon seeing our prided Qilin horn. Xianxi left, leaving behind Mu Hanyi watching his back for a moment before slowly raising his head. There was still a faint smile on his face, but his eyes reflected an unusual gleam that no one had noticed before. More than an hour after midnight, in the dead of night, Xianxi had been resting with closed eyes for a long time, but at this moment, he opened them all of a sudden. Afterwards, he jumped out of the bed and made his way outside. Ah, Sir Yun. Feng Hanjin, who had been waiting outside all the while, performed a salutation in a flurry. Sir Yun is going out? Amen. I'm going out for a walk, so don't bother about me. Xianxi waved his hand. Understood. Feng Hanjin bent over to respectfully see him off, not daring to ask anything further. The Ice-Wind Imperial Palace was especially silent in the midnight. Xianxi walked out of the Ice Maiden Palace before abruptly stopping after a short while. He used a pretty low voice to say, I'm going out to relieve boredom. No one is allowed to follow me. The deterrent power of a direct disciple of the realm king far surpassed that of a monarch. Receiving his order, the people guarding him from the shadows naturally wouldn't dare disobey him. Furthermore, even they felt that it was quite unnecessary to mobilize so many people just to secretly guard someone as great as a direct disciple of the great realm king. Following the earlier route, Xianxi soon arrived at the place from before. Mu Hanyi was also already waiting for him. Mu Hanyi released his spiritual sense to perceive the surroundings. Then he sighed with a smile. I'd not expect anything less from Senior Brother Xianxi. Your words carry even more weight than Royal Father's. There's really no one who dared to follow you. Hee, Junior Brother Hanyi, you're praising too much. Well, let's go over to that place now. Even if it's just looking from afar, it'd make this journey worthwhile if I could feel the aura of the legendary auspicious beast. Xianxi might look calm, but he couldn't conceal the urgency in his tone. If the Hollydom has a spirit, it would be certainly overjoyed upon finding out how much someone of Senior Brother Xianxi's identity was yearning for it. Mu Hanyi took Xianxia to the east of Imperial Palace. The place they had arrived seemed to be the medicine garden of Imperial Palace. Various rare and strange herbs were growing all over, and the whole place was completely dark. It was unclear whether Mu Hanyi was deliberately avoiding the places with people, or it had always been the case around here, as they didn't come across a single person ever after walking for a long time. This is the Imperial Palace's medicine garden. Although there's many kinds of herbs here, the standard of the garden is far inferior to the one in sect. I hope senior brother Xianxia doesn't laugh at it, Mu Hanyi said. Normally, this place is guarded by a profound beasts, which would roar as soon as they notice something wrong. But senior brother Xianxia, you don't have to worry at all. With my aura here, they wouldn't show any alarming reaction. Xianxia released his spirit perception. He truly caught the auras of several profound beasts in different places, and all of them were quite powerful profound beasts in the divine way. Upon reaching the end of the medicine garden, Mu Hanyi finally stopped in his tracks. There was an over 10 meters high, oddly shaped boulder before their eyes. It appeared to have experienced the passage of a long time, as it was fully covered with green and black creepers. Xianxia's gaze scanned all over it for a brief moment, then he said, frowning, "Are you telling me this is the entrance?" "But," Mu Hanyi smiled lightly in response. The creepers on the boulder got brushed away with a sweep of his palm. Soon after, he pointed out his finger as a bead of blood flew out of the tip and fell right on the boulder. Like mercury flowing down the ground, the scarlet bead slowly permeated it and disappeared without a trace. Clang. A light sound reverberated, following which, a small-sized, profound formation suddenly glimmered on the boulder that seemed completely ordinary a moment ago. "Oh!" Xianxia's jaw dropped a bit in a totally surprised expression. "What elaborate planning!" Usually, this profound formation wouldn't show any signs of its presence, making it impossible to be detected. It could be only opened by the ones bearing the direct bloodline of our Ice-Wind Imperial family. However, this is still my first time opening up the passage, besides that one time when Royal Father told me about the existence of this passage. Let me speak the truth, even if it makes senior brother Xianxia laugh. This passage was made in preparation of escaping with our life, in case we ever confront a desperate situation. Bringing Xianxia along into the passage, Mu Hanyi slowly explained, "The exit and entrance to this passage use an identical profound formation, extremely well hidden and difficult to perceive by an outsider. Nothing else other than the blood of Ice-Wind Imperial family members could activate the formations, making it relatively safe to use this place to hide or escape from the enemy. I only hope that the day we're truly forced to use this never comes in the future." Mu Hanyi sighed deeply. In the illusory demon realm, Xianxia had seen such a profound formation which used the bloodline imprint for activation. "Is the Imperial treasury you spoke of at the end of this passage?" Xianxia asked. They had walked within for a long time, but the way ahead was still narrow as before. "Correct. There's a large number of trap mechanisms and profound formations lying hidden in the treasury. Triggering any one of them would land us in quite a grave situation." As they were talking, Mu Hanyi abruptly came to a halt. There was a pitch-black wall in the front, without the slightest gap anywhere in between to pass through. They seemed to have reached a dead end. He said with a very cautious look, "Senior brother Xianxia, the treasury is right before us. You need to make sure to follow closely behind me when we enter inside. No matter what, do not walk around casually. Triggering a profound formation would have been still fine. At worst, Royal Father would sense our presence, and Hanyi would be punished for letting you in. But if Hanyi lets senior brother Xianxia be hurt by some mechanism, it'd be difficult to atone for my sin even after dying 10,000 times." Xianxia nodded to make him feel at ease. Mu Hanyi stretched out his hand. A blood bead flew out again and fell on the pitch-black wall in the front. The wall shone with a faint, profound light as a profound formation, exactly similar to the one before, instantly appeared in their line of sight. Then the pitch-black wall opened into two halves. They saw a spacious place before them as they felt the extremely dense aura of several things. It was the aura of spirit medicine, spirit crystal, spirit weapon. The aura of each and everything in the place was extremely strong. In other words, none of these things emitting such an aura was an ordinary entity of low level. It was, after all, the treasury of the Ice-Wind Imperial family which governed the vast Ice-Wind Empire. Kept in here were the collection and accumulation of the Ice-Wind Empire over the immensely long period of more than 80,000 years. Mu Hanyi, who was leading the way, said with a quite serious look, Senior brother Xianxia, follow along my steps and restrain your aura as much as possible. Make sure not to trigger any mechanism or profound formation. The Qilin horn is at the central area, so we should be able to see it soon. Xianxia restrained his aura as he followed behind Mu Hanyi. Although he was mentally prepared to see a lot of rare things, he was still pretty shocked at the sight before him. The treasury was so huge that one couldn't even see the end. High-level purple crystals and purple jades were piled up into a mountain. The purple light emitting from them was practically blinding. There was a dazzling lineup of all kinds of profound armors and weapons in there, and innumerable auras of spirit medicine could be sensed. Despite the fact that treasures that easily leak their auras were sealed properly in ice jade boxes, the entire treasury was emanating such a strong aura that it felt almost sticky to the touch. It's really worthy of being the longest-standing empire in the history of the Snow Song realm. Taking a look at the treasury is enough in itself to make out the amazing prosperity of the Ice Wind Empire. Xianxia said with emotion. Senior brother Xianxia is overpraising us. Mu Hanyi chuckled. No matter how strong Ice Wind Empire is, it's no more than an insignificant country. Even if our strength and prosperity were to increase 10 times more, we would still remain a petty and low existence in contrast to divine Ice Phoenix sect. What is the sovereign of a nation considered when compared to senior brother Xianxia's identity? Oh, Xianxia revealed surprise. I believe that junior brother Hanyi's words were a bit extreme. I can't fully approve of them. Ha ha! Mu Hanyi let out a meaningful and light laugh but didn't say anything. He continued to walk further as he led Xianxia in for a good while before he finally came to halt. Xianxia also stopped at almost the same time as he looked fixedly in the front. Before their eyes was a huge ceiling profound formation. Within it was a giant horn that was as long as 10 meters. Half of its shape was similar to a deer's and the other half a dragon's. It was entirely azure blue in color and was giving off a crystalline glow. However, it didn't have the slightest glitter and translucency of a crystal. Even though it was sealed by the profound formation, Xianxia could still feel its boundless and dense aura. Could this be the Qilin horn? Xianxia asked, raising his head. Correct. Mu Hanyi turned around to look indifferently at Xianxia. This Qilin horn is from an ice Qilin. It's far bigger than the size mentioned in the available records on Qilin. Therefore, this horn most likely doesn't belong to an ordinary ice Qilin, but some high-level species of Qilin, like King Qilin. There's an extremely strong power contained in this Qilin horn. It's just that even after using countless ways, our ancestral emperors were never able to draw it out. Later, it was sealed over here, treating it as the holidom safeguarding the empire. Xianxia nodded, keeping his gaze on the Qilin horn within the profound formation. Before his eyes was the thing Mu Xuanyin had sent him here for. But he had no idea what to do about the profound formation the Qilin horn was sealed in. As Xianxia was looking at the Qilin horn, Mu Hanyi was actually looking at him. His lips unconsciously curved in a strange way. Speaking of which, once in the past, I proposed to Royal Father that if I could fortunately become a direct disciple of the sect master, then we must present this Qilin horn to her. Oh, surprise emerged in Xianxia's eyes. But isn't it the holidom of your Ice Wind Empire? Your Royal Father shouldn't have agreed, right? No, Mu Hanyi smiled calmly. Royal Father immediately gave his consent. If I could become a direct disciple of the sect master, no one in the Snow Song realm would dare to go against our Ice Wind Empire. Its standing would reach the zenith of the world. Why would we still need some holidom to safeguard the empire by then? In fact, I never believed in something like the destiny of a nation. We might call it a holidom that's safeguarding our empire, but speaking bluntly, it's just a useless, worthless thing whose sole purpose is to comfort our hearts. Ultimately, we have no means to draw out the power contained within it, but Sectmaster is certainly capable of doing that. Having the Sectmaster regard me highly by exchanging such a useless, worthless thing, is it possible for a deal to be any greater than this? How could Royal Father disagree to such a proposal? Xianxia furrowed his eyebrows. He could clearly sense the change in Mu Hanyi's tone and expression. I intentionally disclosed this matter to Master, thinking that the information might be able to reach the ears of Sect Master and let her know about my sincerity. However, it was you whom the Sect Master chose in the end, so nothing I do would make a difference. Mu Hanyi slightly raised his head. It seems this Qilin horn is going to simply lie here as ever. Oh, no, it'd be still comparatively better to present it to the Sect Master, just that. You'd not be the one doing so, but I, Mu Hanyi. Mu Hanyi raised a corner of his mouth. His eyes suddenly started to emit a gloomy and bizarre light. Xianxia's eyes jerked up. He started moving backwards without making any sound. Junior brother Hanyi, what do you mean by that? What meaning? Heh, his eternally gentle smile, which looked like a steadily flowing water, had abruptly changed into a particularly eerie one. His eyes, looking at Xianxia, didn't held the deep respect from before, visibly replaced by blatant ridicule and hatred. It's not like you don't have the choice to present it to the sect master yourself. As long as you kill me, and then use my blood to deactivate that profound formation, you can fulfill your wish. He stretched out his finger to slowly beckon to Xianxia. Come, kill me now. Then you can bring this killing horn back to sect, which would cause the sect master to think more highly of you than before. Come on, hurry up. Xianxia's pupils shrank a bit and continued quietly moving backwards. Junior brother Hanyi, are you joking around with me? What do you think? The corners of Mu Hanyi's mouth lifted into a smile, revealing his white and dazzling teeth that he would keep hidden, even at the moments of smiling faintly. He flung his arm all of a sudden, as he took out a thing flashing blue light before pinching it into pieces. Subsequently, a profound formation was unleashed, glimmering with blue light. Clang. Instantly, a blue barrier was formed around Xianxia before he could even react. By the time he realized his current situation, he was already trapped within together with Mu Hanyi. The barrier was only 33 meters wide, a distance profound practitioners of divine way could cover in no time. The aura emanating from the barrier brought an abrupt change in Xianxia's expression. Not only the barrier was extremely resilient, so much so that he was absolutely incapable of tearing it open, it also cut off everything besides light, space, sound, and even sound transmission. One needs to be at least at the peak of the divine tribulation realm to be able to forcefully break through this barrier. Even if it's me, it's impossible to force my way out of here. Mu Hanyi lowered his arm as he said in a gloomy, mocking tone. Being held within the barrier, Xianxia's present circumstances were no different from a turtle in a jar. Xianxia kept on retreating with quick steps, till he arrived at the edge of the barrier. Mu Hanyi, what are you planning to do? Didn't you say earlier that you've come to the Ice Wind Empire to do something? Mu Hanyi smiled faintly. If an Ice Phoenix disciple were to see his appearance this time, they would definitely not dare believe that he was the same senior brother Hanyi who was revered by everyone. To offer birthday congratulations. Ha, do you take me for a fool? The look in Xianxia's eyes changed again. On my way here, I was always wondering why Sect Master had you come to the Ice Wind Empire. Given the ability of Sect Master, there's no value in conspiring against our empire. Then, at some point in time, I suddenly recalled that I've told Master about the Killing Horn and immediately realized why you'd be sent here. Right, there can be no other reason other than to get the Killing Horn. A major event will be happening in the God realm. So to prepare herself, the Sect Master is anxious to have some breakthrough. Her asking Hugh Ruli to hand over the Golden Crow's record of the Burning World during the Great Sect Assembly is a sufficient proof to support my understanding of the situation. There's no doubt that the Sect Master found out about the Killing Horn from Master, and is thinking that the power contained in it might assist her to break through. However, since she didn't choose me as her direct disciple, and also knows that the Killing Horn is a holidom of our Ice Wind Empire, she didn't feel it right to make a demand for its Sect Master has to take care of her reputation after all. Therefore, she sent you over to discreetly inquire the related information. As long as the location of Killing Horn has been searched out, Sect Master can take it away at any time, without letting anyone else know of her presence. Later, when I heard from Royal Sister Hanjin that you asked her a question related to the destiny of our nation, the last bit of doubt in my heart got dispelled right away. You... The surprised look on Xianxia's face grew deeper with every word said by Mu Hanyi. Why do you know about everything? However, he at once realized something, following which, the surprise and fear on his face disappeared without a trace. This time he actually took a step forward, as the expression in his eyes turned dark and stern. Since you know it already, that makes things a lot easier. Hand over the Killing Horn obediently to me, got it? Or what? Do you want to defy Master's will? There's no way I, Mu Hanyi, would have the guts to defy Sect Master's will. Didn't I say just now? I'll personally offer the Killing Horn to Master. But you wouldn't be there to see that moment because you, Mu Hanyi's tone changed all of a sudden, will be dying here very soon. Xianxia's pupils shrank. What did you say? You want to kill me? You dare kill me? No, how could I dare do such a thing? Senior brother Xianxia is a direct disciple of the Sect Master after all. I wouldn't dare harm a hair of you, even if I had guts big as heaven. Mu Hanyi's eyes narrowed into slits. Naturally, you wouldn't be killed by me, but due to unfortunately triggering a mechanism here while vainly attempting to steal the Xiaolan horn. Xianxia was slightly dumbfounded, but it didn't take him long to understand his intention. He looked panicked all of a sudden. Don't be nervous, senior brother Xianxia. Enjoying Xianxi's panicked look, an incomparably eerie and elated smile appeared on Mu Hanyi's face. I'll cover up the whole incident very well. Even if the sect master were to personally come here, it'd be definitely impossible to figure out anything wrong with my story. You can wholeheartedly trust me on that. After all, this place you've stepped into yourself is perfect as your graveyard. Have you gone crazy? Xianxia yelled. I'm in your ice-wind empire at present. Even if Master truly believed that I was killed by some mechanism, given her temper, she will put an end to the lives of you all in anger. Oh, you're right, extremely right. Mu Hanyi didn't show any fear in response, and instead nodded in deep agreement. Even if you died in the process of trying to steal the holidom of our ice-wind empire, it'd be completely normal if Sect Master razed the entire imperial city to the ground in anger. But even if Ice-Wind Empire were to be eradicated, Sect Master wouldn't kill me for sure, Xianxia. Because you would be dead. And Feixu, Mu Hanyi's body uncontrollably trembled for a good while when he mentioned the name of Mu Feixu. His voice was suddenly filled with hatred as he said, gnashing his teeth. She has lost her former talent after having her vital yin sullied by you. Hence, Sect Master will certainly select a new direct disciple, which could only be me. There would be no one qualified other than me. So if I were to be killed, Sect Master wouldn't be able to find another suitable direct disciple. When the time comes, I'll beg Sect Master to forgive me for being unable to keep safe our respected and loved senior brother Xianxia. And the Sect Master would be most clear about the reason behind you getting killed by the mechanism set up around the Xiaolan horn. She would know that our Ice-Wind Empire is innocent. In addition, if the Empire were to be exterminated, she'd have a guilty conscience towards me. Afterwards, I'll personally offer up the Xiaolan horn to appease her. Every part of my plan is logical and well-reasoned. The things I lost or were snatched away from me will all return back to my hands one more time. To achieve this aim, you not only want to kill me, but are also willing to put Ice-Wind Empire in a greatly perilous situation, Xianxia said as he panted heavily. Mu Hanyi opened his arms, saying leisurely, so long as I can succeed, what does it matter even if the entire Ice-Wind Empire is drowned in the flames of wrath and exterminated? A deep frown surfaced on Xianxi's face. You sure are insane. Me insane? Mu Hanyi indifferently cackled. You are even more naive than I had thought. All I am doing is something which a truly able person needs to do. Even if my royal father or royal brothers were to die under the fury of the Sect Master, they would definitely understand me as they traveled along the path of the Yellow Springs. After all, this was all taught to me by my royal father. At the same time, I was forced to do all of this by you. Mu Hanyi's originally calm and indifferent voice abruptly turned sharp at this moment as a terrifyingly hideous and fierce expression emerged on his face. At this place and time, he was finally able to completely strip himself of all of his means without any qualms. Do you know just how much I've given up to be able to become Sect Master's direct disciple? I have an innate talent which causes all to envy me, yet I have never dared to be the slightest bit lazy because of it. In fact, while others would cultivate for 6 to 8 hours a day, I would cultivate for at least 18 hours a day. And I started this when I was 5 years old. Every day, I would train until I became battered black and blue to temper my body as well. I have already lost count of how many times I have nearly frozen to death in the wintry spring. After entering Divine Ice Phoenix sect later on, I became even less daring to slack off. Even though I was a prince, I kneeled thousands upon 10,000s of times in front of others within the sect to ask for teachings. To gain a spot in the hearts of people, I showed favor countless times to those untouchables who could be of use to me. Then, in order to gain more blood essence from Mu Hanyi to thicken my bloodline, I was even willing to humiliate myself and become a plaything for her in bed. At number percent, as Xianxia thought about the robust Mu Hanyi and her masculine face, his eyes opened wide and his mouth dropped as an overwhelmingly uncomfortable feeling emerged in his stomach. The route that Mu Hanyi had taken to become the #1 disciple of Divine Ice Phoenix sect was truly not an easy one. Mu Hanyi's breathing became increasingly heavy as his expression became increasingly grim and hideous. His pupils, full of rage and fury, moved erratically as he said, "I had already succeeded. My success was nigh. I was about to become Sect Master's direct disciple, gaining a most distinguished status and a future which everyone would be envious of. Sect Master would pass Feixu to me, and my homeland would once again rise to the pinnacle. Because of my talent, my wisdom, my effort, and also my prestige, I could have also possibly become the successor of a great realm king, ruling over the entire Snow Song realm and becoming a person who all had to bow down to. My name would have forever been recorded in the history of the Snow Song realm, and I would have achieved a state of omnipotence within it. I would have been able to kill that old bitch Mu Hanyi using the most wicked methods without any care, Xianxia. Everything had already appeared right in front of my eyes. As long as I continued working hard, everything would have become mine. You wouldn't need to die nor anyone else. But it was you who ruined all of it." Waves of grief, resentment, and madness emanated from Mu Hanyi as his voice became hoarse and twisted. Like an evil beast, he roared, "You have robbed me of the rewards for my lifetime of effort. You have taken away Feixu, you have taken away everything. But thankfully, this entire matter is but just a test given to me by the heavens. Not long has passed, yet an opportunity for me to snatch everything back has been delivered straight to me, and it is an incredibly perfect opportunity." Mu Hanyi's breaths were ragged as he slowly raised his closed palm towards Xianxia. "Do you know just how perfect this is? You yourself threw off your guards, and no one knows where you have gone or who are with. As for me, I exited through a secret passage within the palace. This means that no one knows I have left the palace. Thus, everyone will believe that during the critical moments of your death after breaking into the treasury, I was sleeping calmly in the palace. I have even helped you think of how you entered. Only I will need to sacrifice my poor royal sister." "You!" Xianxia fiercely gnashed his teeth. From Mu Hanyi's words, it was clear that after killing Xianxia and leaving, he would send a sound transmission to Feng Hanjin and call her over, before then killing her too. Because the blood of an Ice Wind imperial family member was needed to unlock the profound formation of the secret passageway. Mu Hanyi wanted to make it seem like Xianxia had killed Feng Hanjin, and then used her blood to enter the treasure warehouse. "If I become a great realm king in the future, what's wrong with this bit of a sacrifice?" Mu Hanyi slowly walked forward as an icy blue light surrounded his hand. "Ask me how much I hate you. These last couple days, I have dreamed about cutting into you with thousands of blades. But now, I feel like you are so pitiful. You got everything I dreamed about, but just a short half-month later, you are about to lose everything, including your life. Heh, your losses outweigh your gains." More blue light quickly converged over Mu Hanyi's hand and rapidly reached a level where it would be able to take Xianxia's life in one blow. Mu Hanyi was only 10 steps away from him. "Truth be told, you are still quite an intelligent fellow. I constantly thought about killing you to snatch everything back, but there were several times where I wondered if it was possible that I would never find an opportunity to kill you in my entire life. I never expected that the heavens would pity me and bestow such a perfect opportunity upon me so quickly. Since arriving in the Ice Wind Empire, you must have been bitterly thinking about how to find the whereabouts of the Killin Horn, right? At a time like this, I just had to slightly lead and you would naturally become euphoric. After all, how could you let such an opportunity go, and thus you obediently brought yourself in here? In your next life, you would do well to remember one thing. Do not be too impatient when doing things. You should use your brain a bit more, Xianxia. All right, everything which needs to be said has been said. You can peacefully go die now." Mu Hanyi's 5 fingers slowly opened as his facial features became extremely twisted. "Don't feel anxious, I won't let you die too horribly. Otherwise, you may not look perfect enough for my plans after you die." Mu Hanyi's words hadn't fallen as he abruptly shot forward. His 5 fingers with blue light flickering between them aimed straight for Xianxia's throat. The power of a middle-stage divine tribulation realm cultivator, one which surpassed Xianxia by a full 2.5 realms, was undoubtedly enough to kill him, even if it were to just barely hit him. As Xianxia watched Mu Hanyi approach, he felt the cold aura of death. However, a glint of light abruptly flashed through his eyes as they became incredibly dark and cold. Star God's broken shadow, bang. Mu Hanyi's palm and fingers instantly tore through Xianxia's afterimage and heavily collided with the barrier. The barrier slightly trembled from the blue light, but showed absolutely no signs of collapsing. In fact, not a single crack appeared on top. Having never considered that Xianxia would be able to dodge his attack, Mu Hanyi became clearly dazed for a moment. It was at this moment that a dark blue image of a dragon flashed within the barrier, followed by a heaven-shocking earth-shattering roar which caused the entire area to tremble. Roar, Dragon God Domain. The Dragon God Domain. It was a terrifying domain which was Xianxia's only method to suppress enemies who were 3 or more great realms higher than him. Forget divine tribulation realm cultivators. Even divine spirit realm profound cultivators would not be able to completely resist it. An unmatched power which originated from the dragon god's true soul caused Mu Hanyi to feel as if his soul had been hit by a heavy hammer. His vision suddenly turned white as an unprecedented sense of weakness and fear quickly emerged in his heart. And at this moment, Xianxia charged forward like a bolt of lightning, his left hand reaching out as a green glow flashed out from the sky-poison pearl in his palm. A seemingly cottony and fibrous, yet also liquid red dot flew out from the sky-poison pearl and onto Mu Hanyi's face. As soon as the red dot collided with Mu Hanyi, it immediately entered through his skin and 7 orifices in a frenzy, as if it had suddenly gained consciousness. In the blink of an eye, it had already disappeared. Removing the dragon god domain, Xianxia flipped backwards and then landed on the other side of the barrier. As he landed, his body slightly swayed as his vision became blurry. In order to ensure success, he had unreservedly used his soul energy. Although the dragon god domain had only been sustained for several breaths, it had consumed a great amount of his soul energy. However, a dark, indifferent smile was present on his face. Both of Mu Hanyi's pupils quickly contracted in fear and shock. He had just turned around when he suddenly fell to his knees, expressions of extreme pain and panic abruptly emerging on his face. Then his entire body collapsed onto the ground as he began to wildly roll around and convulse. He began to scream, his voice hoarse and shrill as he continuously cried out as if he were bearing the greatest pains in the world. What have you done, It's the horned dragon's breath, Xianxia coldly responded. Uwug! These 2 ice-cold words caused Mu Hanyi's pupils to suddenly expand several times larger as traces of scarlet blood abruptly spread across the whites of his eyes. Everyone in Divine Ice Phoenix sect knew that what had nearly caused Mu Bingyan to lose her life was the horned dragon's breath. Its toxicity was so terrifying that even a divine sovereign realm powerhouse like Mu Bingyan had nearly died. How could it be something that Mu Hanyi could endure? It's not possible. You're lying to me. You're lying. As if countless demons were rampaging through Mu Hanyi's soul, he felt extreme pain and fear. He let out another hoarse roar and then pounced towards Xianxia. But right when he tried to circulate his profound energy, the toxicity of the horned dragon's breath abruptly flared and became more intense. As if he had suddenly been shot in the heart, he fell to the ground whilst miserably roaring. His entire body contracted as he rolled on the ground in extreme pain. His originally white skin quickly became a dull red as the aura of profound energy and vitality on his body rapidly dispersed from his body like running water. The horrific toxicity of horned dragon's breath was being clearly demonstrated in front of Xianxia's eyes. Under the immense toxicity of the horned dragon's breath, a profound cultivator of the divine tribulation realm who had once been the #1 amongst the peers of his generation in the snow song realm, had been reduced to a completely powerless state, as if he were a helpless larvae. It seems like the situation did not develop as you had expected. Xianxia calmly and slowly walked over, his eyes indifferent and devoid of a trace of mercy as he said, Mu Hanyi, I must confess that you acted quite well. I only ever felt regret and self-depreciation from you, and never once felt any hatred and unacceptance towards me. Especially on the road to the Ice-Wind Empire, when you bared your heart and soul to me. There were several moments when I nearly believed that you were broad-minded and able to calmly accept everything. Your ability to hide your emotions is perfect and unmatched. Even I cannot achieve it. However, regardless of how perfectly you behaved, there's no way that I would be innocent and naive to believe that you held no hate towards me. It's even more unlikely that I would be foolish enough to come to such an isolated place by myself without guards when invited by someone who hates me so. Xianxia stopped in front of Mu Hanyi and bent down slightly as he mockingly said, It seems that the impatient person was not me, but you. In your next life, you would do well to remember one thing. Do not be too impatient when doing things. You should use your brain a bit more. The words with which Mu Hanyi had used to mock Xianxia earlier had been delivered back to him in full. Mu Hanyi's eyes had become bloodshot to the point of seemingly exploding. His struggles had also become increasingly fainter and weaker. He was in such great pain that he couldn't even say anything anymore. This place is indeed incredibly perfect for killing someone, regardless of it is you kill me or me killing you. Xianxia coldly said, Mu Hanyi, you truly picked a perfect place to use as your grave. Otherwise, I would have had to use more of my brain and energy just to find an opportunity and reason to get rid of you. A snake which could bite me at any moment.